2.7%, 2.7% for the headline number there year over year as well, exactly in line with expectations. So a bit of a wash possibly. Yeah, market liking that so far. A bit of a move higher here for the futures. Again, 0.2 was expected there on the month over month number, 2.6. Expected versus 2.7 there on the year over year number for April. The headline number 2.8, a little bit higher than expected for. Again, April PCE, that was the big one that we were expecting this morning coming through. So I guess significantly higher is not the case. So the market with a little bit of a pop here to 452. Not a huge move. Not a lot of volume, it's worth mentioning, behind that move either at this point.
No, I think, you know, well, a nice through 18.6. Big retracement yesterday, though. If you were with us on the show, you saw we really retraced off that 18.8 level. And so we're trying to break back above that. Keep in mind that we closed a little bit above 18.6 yesterday. So we're a little bit above that right now.
Canadian GDP, meanwhile, coming through 1.7% versus 2.2%. So downside in a pretty significant way there. Month over month, dead flat, zero across the board there for Canadian GDP, another number we're looking forward to on this side of the border anyways this morning. If you're joining a little bit late there, again, 2.7 on the headline number there, or 2.8% for the core on the year over year number. So basically in line with expectations to slightly higher. I mean, 0.1% here, 0.1% there, really not going to make that much of a difference. Probably why we're not seeing a little bit more attention given to the overall market right now. But back to positive territory to start a Friday morning off, guys. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody, and it is going to be an interesting Friday. We have more crazy earnings to get to, of course, and with that number just coming in. Hey, that month over month only being 0.2. So, I mean, it was in line year over year, but the month over month core coming in 0.2, so a little bit lighter than expected. Not huge. NVIDIA is now up 2%, so takes that Middle East news from, well, the news in the afternoon yesterday and says, who cares? We're right back to where that started because it was at 11.25. I think that's going to be a key price. Never want to overreact to the 8:30 numbers or anything. Let's see what happens as we get into the open. But not great for DELL. You saw that on earnings. It wasn't a complete disaster like MongoDB was, but DELL down double digits to be sure. I'll get this one out of the way. You got Gap gapping higher, so there it's been said. Super strong move for them. Obviously, Gap's going to be well in play. And Zscaler with a good report. So that's another one to be on watch. Of course, the chips are going to be in play. You know it. And it's unavoidable because it's now up 6.5%. DJT is breaking out, is what it is.
I was just going to say, I was actually just going to talk about DJT, and then I saw that it wasn't moving, and now it's breaking out again, and I was trying to look at Tesla here. The market's trying to get going on this PCE number, but the thing is I still feel pretty negative about the overall market right now. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but the last couple of days we've started to get to the downside right here. And we talked about this yesterday, this 18.6 level. We breached it overnight. We're down into here, 18.5 and change, just trying to get back into these levels. So for me, I still think we're looking short until we gap and get above this 18.7, which we might hit right now. So I'm looking to get short here early against some of these levels. So that's what I'm looking for. I mean, if we can get up to there as well. But remember I said yesterday, like, that there was going to be a certain name that would be right back. And I was like, oh, it's time to buy the dip already because we went down through $1,100. Well, I mean, yeah, we did. We did. That was a nice move. And then thank you, almost as we're all the way back to where we were like, oh, no, there. And we have it. We'll talk about it. It's on our watch list. But the shipments going to the Middle East. It's not China, it's Middle East, right? So Saudi Arabia, obviously it's going to be a big deal, but that'll probably get figured out and get done. So, you know, you're right back to that little shelf area right here of 25 and 30 that we had talked about yesterday. Look at this thing. I mean, this is just that. I was going to write down like, oh, maybe we'll have to look at this on a pop. Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at it, you're staring at it right now. So nice move up there for NVIDIA, up another 2 and a bit %. So, I mean, Free Fall Friday is not going to be happening anytime soon unless something happens to Jensen and company, because other than that, this name just keeps on. The guy's worth $100 billion or something right now. Like, this stock is absolutely insane. I mean, this was $900, and we're like, oh, you know, let's see what happens with earnings. And then now it's $1,100, $1,200. Like, what is it even going to be if someone upgrades this thing on Monday? Or like, it's 18,000. Yeah.
Well, someone said there was someone early in the week, and it was like I remember hearing like it was 18. It was like I think it was 18. Someone was like joking around, but it always just depends on your time frame. Of course, it'll be 18, but I think 12 is realistic for next week. I don't think 12 is realistic for today. I don't know that we're past the point of no return for this still being a bit of a top on NVIDIA, at least a temporary one. Because when I look at you just look at the last 2 or 3 days as a whole, you still have a distinct 1150 top and then a lower high off that and the breakdown yesterday. So unless it gets well past this 25 zone and past 40, I don't know that we're out of the pocket just yet. But that's what makes it so much fun, right? Like we have a lot of time for this to calm itself down or not calm down, and then we're looking for some breakouts. I mean, you have awesome names that have dipped a little bit here. I mean, Meta had a good dip that it could reverse. That TikTok story may or may not be true from yesterday. If Amazon, which has been under pressure, I think that could be another interesting one if it can get back above the 50 period. So I think they basically just said that they denied that they were working on that.
I forgot to look at Snapchat. Snapchat's right back to
It's right back to where it was, Snapchat. And don't forget Summit. So Summit and Merck, that stock was going to be in play today.
Oh yeah,
it's only up. It's only down 25%, but that's because it went from $3 to $12 and back to now $8. But let's go back to the desk. So much to watch.
Yeah, we were talking yesterday about interest rates climbing back higher here. I was just seeing short term, specifically the 2 and the 10-year, back to the upside here in a pretty big way, coming off this PCE print again. I mean, it's higher, but in line with expectations, 0.1% on both sides, the core and the headline number, to the upside on the year-over-year side of things. Anyways, I was just noting as well with that GDP print for Canada, chances of a rate cut coming through next week, next Wednesday, to 80% now from the BOC.
Alfred will be very happy because a lot of his disposable income went down the drain when those interest rates went up, and that is the problem on this side of the border. A lot of mortgages coming due next year and the year after, all at substantially higher rates. A lot of people did lock in those 1%, 1.5% mortgages during the pandemic. Those don't exist anymore, and renewals, you're going to renew like 4 or 5% higher.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a quarter, it will be a quarter of a point high or cut if on the way back down, but that's not going to make, you know, a huge difference initially as far as mortgage rates are concerned, but it's moving in the right direction. Let's talk a little bit of retail here. I was just seeing this one moving around. I'll double check JWN with their earnings report, but I'm not seeing any. Yeah, it was after the close yesterday, but just saw some volume come in there for JWN, Nordstrom's. There's also GPS, the big one, about to take out the highs here. So some retail in focus to start things off today.
Yeah, Nordstrom was interesting here. I know they've been talking about taking this company private for a long time, but now that we're actually hearing details of it, especially on the call, so we'll have to keep eyes on that. You know, nothing really has changed here. Their best moneymaker is that Nordstrom rack. They are facing stiff competitions from TJX as well as some other discount retailers, but we'll get more to the numbers, I guess, on the rundown. But yeah, not a bad look.
Yeah, Foot Locker kind of moving around. Yesterday was a big day for FL, but a little bit of volume here for Foot Locker as well. But some retail stocks in action today.
Yeah, ho-hum okay day for Foot Locker yesterday. You know, nothing all that special for them. What was it, like 30% at one point to the upside? I didn't check where they closed, but let's just say they had a monster day. Nordstrom's interesting because it wasn't all bad, and then you have, of course, all this speculation that they could get taken out. I think, or go private, I should say, is a better way to put it, because that's more accurate. I think that can give you some kind of a bounce zone on it if it holds the $20 area. But it's done, speaking of 20,000 is the number of shares I've seen traded today on this stock. And down 4%, so maybe it bounces off 20, but we know Gap did ridiculous things overnight and is actually continuing to go. Maybe not millions and millions of shares of pre-market volume, but wow, 25% to the upside. 52-week high is within 40 cents right now. Well, from the bid, it's like 60 cents, but there's a bit of a spread. So you're very, very close to breaking out this top on Gap, beating a lot of expectations. The turnaround has obviously gone pretty well for them. As you can see, a lot of retailers have done this. But I have to look for a dip because it's at such a monster level. If you're not catching a bid over 28.60 or breaking 29, then the only play is going to be wait this one out at the open, I think, and look for some dip buys. But you cannot ignore the retail names when they're going. Do it to your chagrin. We saw A&F. We saw Foot Locker be a mover yesterday. I think Gap's the one today.
Yo, Randy, why are you sending out emails about HVAC?
Yeah, Randy.
We got to get Ramin switching over here. Fabian is stuck on the subway.
Uh-oh. It does happen.
I don't know what he's getting. Is he getting a meatball Subway or? Yeah. What's going on with the HVAC? Cooling tower issues.
So, but the cooling's not working. I still think it's always nice and chilly in here.
It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous outside.
It's going to be a great day today. That's
summertime is here.
Like that?
So you're saying it's going to be too hot in the afternoon in the office?
Maybe.
Too hot?
We can move the show outside.
Yes.
We'll just shoot in the parking lot.
There
Take
we go.
the show on the road.
Parking lot? You mean the alley?
You
the alley,
up
the
north
back
this
alley.
weekend, or what are you doing?
Next weekend.
Next weekend. Okay, next weekend.
Going up to feed the flies.
They're bad at this time of year, aren't they? Especially because it's been pretty damp.
It's like an airport up there. It's just, it's like, yikes.
Oh, you know what we're using? Have you heard of the Thermacell?
Yes.
That's wicked awesome. We put it in our backyard.
They work well. I don't have one, but
Yeah,
I'm
butane.
on my shopping list.
Yeah, those are pretty cool. We
Okay.
got it at Costco.
Costco.
That's
Oh,
another
Fabian
Lion.
has entered the building.
baby.
What's Costco
Yeah,
doing?
what's Costco doing?
It didn't do
Nothing,
much.
really.
It actually didn't.
I was going to just talk about Amazon, but since we're in the retail space right here, we'll switch over to Costco. Yeah, they reported, right? Just
Dead flat,
Dead
dead
flat,
flat,
dead flat. So
No
all
dip
they do
buy.
is collect our yearly fees, and we buy the stuff.
But you know what's good? The
All
CEO
right.
said it. The dog prices are safe. There will be no change. Every
Hot
single
dog? Okay.
Every earnings call, they always say it. It's like, don't worry, the hot dogs.
I get those hot
It's not
dogs. I don't know, man. Like when I was younger, maybe they were a jam, but now it's like, I don't know, man.
Because
don't
now you
know.
barbecue your own. Like that's
Yeah,
what,
like-
that's what it comes down to. When you barbecue your own, all of a sudden you have a different standard for. At least I do for
Yeah, of course.
burgers and
Barbecuing
dogs.
anything is way better. It's
Yeah.
not even.
It's just you
I
can't
just
compete
I
with
feel
that.
like I feel like Palantir. I just saw it in the chat. I have Palantir on the sticky note, so we will get to Palantir. It was a monster trade yesterday. I feel like hot dogs are very like situational. Like we only have hot dogs like Saturday afternoon, like we've just come home from baseball, or we're running around, or we're doing something, or you're at a sporting event. First of all, NVIDIA is at 11, just broke 1130 right now. So like, this is going upside here. I wrote down AMD short. Do we have a guest? Oh, we have. Oh,
we
good.
got
We have
Michael
Mr. Michael Noss. Well, I don't want to keep us for too much longer. Haven't seen that guy in a minute. Hey, Michael. Hope everything is going well over there on the East Coast. And I know as a recent new father, again, I hope he's
Yes.
doing well, and I hope everybody's, the family's growing and having good times over there, because
Always, always.
the first little bit sometimes can be rough, but it's always nice to.
It's a good kind of rough.
Yeah,
being a new
that's what I'm
parent.
saying. It's always nice to
yeah.
hear that. So, all right, I don't know why I went on that tangent, but all right, it's back over to the desk, and we'll get to the aforementioned Michael Noss.
Yeah, let's bring him in. It's Friday morning. We'll touch on a few things that could be moving a little bit southbound here, Mr. Noss. This number this morning not really helping this case, but we can't predict everything, right? When it comes to economic data, it seems like the market only wants to go up. But we're in a very curious time and spot here in the overall market and economy ahead of what's to come, not next week, but the week after we get into the next Fed decision here. So tell us why we should be looking a little bit negative here over the next few days or weeks, maybe.
Yeah, I have some ideas if I'm right, and we could be pulling down, and then I've got some ideas if I'm wrong, which, as Brendan said, it looks like the economic data today may do that as well. But let's just go to the first chart. We're going to talk with the S&P 500. This is a follow-up from, I think, 2 Mondays ago. Because this Monday was a holiday. 2 Mondays ago, I talked with Sean about me being short the Dow and the reasons for it. I'll go over that trade as well. And then last night with Neil, I chatted a little bit about this worrisome setup that I was seeing on the S&P 500 and how potentially I wanted to look to hedge against that. And then I have some long setups that I think may do well, even if the market starts to sell off. And if I'm wrong and we reverse from here, then I think they'll do very well. So got all my bases covered. I'm perfectly hedged here. So first of all, this is what I'm looking at on the S&P 500. And I'll show you why this chart is so important to me in a moment. But you can see these April to, I think March, April highs, where we spent some time around there. We sold off for a bit. We got above those highs, but we couldn't really get going as we broke out. And for those who day trade and for those who trade any time frame, you notice a lot if you take a breakout and that breakout doesn't work and then fails back through that range, sometimes those can happen very fast. A nice Brian Shannonism that I love is from failed moves from fast moves. And if you go to the next chart, you can kind of see why that could occur, where on the Dow here, we had a nice breakout of those same prior highs, but it didn't get going at all. And when we broke back down under it, that's where I took my short, and you can see the Dow kind of completely fell apart from that and is hanging out near these lows. So if the rest of the market follows the Dow, I know all the young kids like to look at the NASDAQ, but us old guys, we still respect the Dow. We still respect Papa Dow, and it may be leading us to the downside with the SPY catching up here and failing at that resistance as well. So for me, I'm not big at shorting individual stocks. There's a lot that can happen when you're shorting individual names. It can gap up 100% and it can hurt you. You can have a roaring kitty come out and tweet about your thing, and then you have these gap ups. So for me, when I'm looking to short, I more like to gravitate towards inverse ETFs. Also, I trade a lot in my retirement account. So for you guys who do that as well, this is something I believe that you can do in America as well, where you can buy these even though you're not allowed to short. So this is the SQQQ. Now, one thing I want to be very, very clear when I talk about these inverse ETFs, take a look at the monthly chart on the lower left-hand corner. This thing is not down 99.9% because the Qs are up that much. What happens is the way they get these leveraged, these inverse ETFs, is by using derivatives contracts. And those derivatives contracts naturally decay over time. So this will at some point, this instrument we're looking at will go to $1 and they will do a reverse split, and it will go to $1 and they'll do a reverse split over and over and over again. It's just how they're set up. So you need to understand that if you're taking these trades, these are meant for short-term moves, for tactical type plays. That's how I use them. If I think that the Qs are going to fall here over the next couple days or weeks, I will go to these, but just, again, not meant to be held as long-term trading instruments. So if we see this failure on the Qs, that's what I want to take a look at. But if I'm wrong, what I did last night when we were talking to Neil is we said, let's just find some high short float names that didn't sell off in the last few days with the markets, and that held up well. So when we finished that, I went through and I grabbed a couple names. So I built this little layout. Again, you can hit me up on Twitter. You can go to trade-ideas.com and click on the little help button. They'll get you this layout as well. Just looking for heavily shorted names. So the top three that I grabbed from there, one was BE, so Blooming Energy. You can see it there, but I have a more detailed chart in the next slide. It's putting in this nice wedge type pattern after a nice strong breakout. We've seen that alternative energies like solar have been doing really, really well in this market. This one has a 20% short float, which represents 3 whole days of trading to cover. So if we can get going out of this nice little flag, I like the look of this BE. Next is Groupon, which is still a company. I didn't know this existed. Has a 25% short float, however. And that yellow vertical line that you see on the chart, that is our earnings. So it had earnings. It was up 3 days in a row, a monster move after earnings, and then this nice consolidation following earnings. So if we can get a continuation out of this channel or this flag, I like the 25% short float there on Groupon. Last but not least is this YWMC. I think this was one of the memes way back in the day. I kind of remember this name with a 22% short float. just nice downtrend line. If you can get above that downtrend line, I like that. The reason that I picked these three, if you notice, each of them were up yesterday when the market was down. So that was the main criteria, is that when they sell to the market, what are they not selling? And in this case, these were three names that they weren't looking to sell.
Of strength across the board. We've had so much of it in tech over that's been so well discussed, not only on this program, but many over the past weeks and months. Doesn't necessarily mean there aren't other areas of the market being focused on. This is a good way to find those.
Yeah, and that's our job. You know, it's been tech for so long that I'm worried that when it's not tech, people and traders will have a hard time moving on to the next thing. But you know, you just need to study the history of the markets to know that at some point it was energy that did very well, and before then it was railroads and all of these things that can be considered boring because they are right now may become interesting in the future. So this is always what I'm looking at, is what is relatively strong, what is relatively weak. I think whether you're day trading or swing trading or investing, just focusing in that area would do the best for everybody.
Yeah, and the bigger picture, bigger message, maybe, you know, just because it's not necessarily a time to be loading into more tech and more tech and more tech doesn't mean there aren't opportunities elsewhere.
Exactly.
Perfect. Michael Noss, have a wonderful weekend. We'll touch base again next week.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you, Michael. And we're like last night we were talking about some of those like low float or more particularly high short float names. The key point being a little bit of strength being shown, because shorts don't have to cover if they're not scared, if there isn't a reason, like I saw in the chat, and this is a good look. Holo, it's got a big short float. I heard 80% in the chat. I see it up on Trade Ideas as 68. That's gigantic. However, when you put that into perspective with how the stock is moved, if you're short, anybody who's short this is probably not in a worry zone of wondering where or when they're going to have to cover. Like even the last little spike, which you didn't even see when I zoomed out the daily chart, that last spike just immediately faded back in. It's trading on lows. So that's a very different thing than, you know, what you saw happen in a GameStop or what you see with BE or some of the names that Michael was talking about. So you have to have reasons for covers. I mean, that's specifically why GameStop did what it did. Like it broke out and now it's making a higher low and it's trying to do so again. So it's with that short float and then some relative strength. And not to, I mean, this was up as the market was down yesterday too. And I'm not saying this is an investable name, but that looks like a bit of a reversal to me. You have a nice rounded bottom into what can be a potential breakout today. Does it go to $100? I don't think so. But it's something that needs to be in the toolbox, because some days, if you're looking for longs, they are in squeeze names or meme plays or retail or the First Solars of the world or Abercrombie. It's not always going to be NVIDIA and AMD and, you know, all of those tech names, which we're all so fond of. Some days those are down, and the game in town is to be looking at squeeze names or just whatever happens to be relatively strong. Got to have it in the toolbox. GameStop is in my radar today. We did have some longs in it yesterday, but it never really broke out that 2270 top. So I think a 23 breaks very much in play today. Let's go see some upgrades and downgrades, Adara.
Yeah. Costco kicking off the list here, getting an upgrade from TSLA Advisory Group after those earnings yesterday. DELL very much to the downside, but did get this upgrade from TD Cowen after its earnings, beating expectations there across the board despite lower guidance. We do have Win getting an upgrade from Seaport Research, and PayPal with its second upgrade here in 2 days. Yesterday from Mizuho and today from New Street. So nice look for PYPL heading into the end of the week here. Kohl's, another recent earnings name, you're getting a downgrade from TSLA Advisory Group. Dollar General also getting this TSLA downgrade here after their earnings yesterday. TSLA downgrading one more earnings name here too with Guess. They reported last night. And last but not least, Lemaitre Vascular getting this downgrade from Roth MKM. So interesting look, a lot of earnings names to talk about here, guys.
Lemaitre, or I guess that's Lemaitre, I don't know. I wanted to say it French because I watched this I was telling Sharif this morning. Yeah. There's a Key and Peele sketch, which is one of the most brilliant ones that Keegan-Michael Key has ever done. Like he's doing a French waiter at a restaurant. I'm not gonna spoil the entire thing, but suffice to say, during the entire sketch, he might say one or two actual French words, and it's so convincing. Like, it's ridiculous how good he is. He's just saying utter nonsense, and it sounds legitimate. So Lemaitre is how I want to pronounce that. But the only thing on that list, because we're going to talk about a couple of things that have the earnings, so that's fine. They'll be on the watch list. PayPal made what looked like a definitive bottom. Let's go to the daily chart first. A definitive bottom a couple of days ago. You know, like you have this higher low support, drew this trend line yesterday. There's your 200 period moving average. Like everything about this looks like it's catching a bit of a bid, and I didn't bother drawing a trend line at the top. But even if you were to just get back to the 50 period of that 65, there's some room for this to rally, and it's got itself a double top here at 63.40. Now I don't have this one. I didn't put this one on my note, but on a strong day, this is up 1%. The Nasdaq's 0.2. The ES is 0.3. I think I want to look for something on this. And I had forgotten all about that. And suddenly this looks a lot more interesting here for PayPal. The 62 level looks like a good area of support. Obviously, previous close is usually a good number. That sets up exactly at 62.5. Yeah, I might be looking for some dip buys in here. I don't know that I love the break because the volume is really not that good. I don't like breakouts when the stock doesn't have a big catalyst that day or any volume pre-market. But PayPal looks pretty good for a long. I like the pattern on the daily chart to at least be looking longs if you can find them.
Yeah, I mean, we had talked a little bit about PayPal before. I mean, I think we like that name. I mean, we'll talk about Chinese ADRs. I mean, a name yesterday that probably won't be on the rundown here today, but Salesforce, again, up, right? And so this is good. Like, you had a big move down yesterday. Obviously, we're not going to worry about it being up only 1% because it was down 16 yesterday or something like that, or I guess worse there at the low. But you did battle back. And now we have like this 214, 215 area that I think, you know, if it gets sold off early, which I don't know, the market's having a nice move. We talked about it getting to 18.7, you got to 18.660, so 18.7 is a possibility, half hour till the market opens. CRM down here at 214, 215, I think on a day two play, probably worth looking at. You never want to leave these day two plays alone. Yesterday, UiPath sort of started to go late, or went right into here, so midday up to 12. It only got to where we are right now, so 12.18, 12.20. So this is another name. Maybe I'll zoom in just a little bit more. There it is. So yeah, you're right at yesterday's high right now. So UiPath, I feel like 12 is good here. So just two levels from yesterday there. UiPath down here at 12 that we had long, and then CRM down at 12 at 15.
Yeah, both SSR.
250. Yeah, both SSR. So I don't want to go short either one of them. I think that long on those levels is pretty good. So we'll wait, but sticky note out in 1 second.
All right, a couple things to note here. Here's the dollar first off. Worth noting, this is an hourly chart, but a huge move down here for the DXY coming off that PCE print at 830. 104, call it 75 as of the end of the day yesterday. We're back to 104.40 right now for the dollar. Yields all downside, specifically shorter term yields, as we said when we came on, wasn't the case, but a bit of a reversal underway here. If you missed it, just a quick recap here at 8:30. April core PCE comes in exactly in line with expectation on the month over month number. These two though, 2.7 versus 2.6 expected, 2.8 on the core versus 2.7 expected, but that was the increase that was essentially the expectation. I also just read that it was the slowest growth in 3 years for core PCE specifically. So positive for stocks here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've been riddled with inflation for the last few years. I still want to dive deeper into this and see what shelter inflation is doing, because it takes up so much of your money every month. So it stands to reason that we focus on it the most. So we'll dive into that later and have a look for it on the midday.
Yeah, and then remember we get non-farm payrolls, the next stop coming up next Friday. This time in a week, we'll be talking about May NFPs already. That's crazy. All right, let's get into what we need to know here heading towards the open on a Friday. We'll kick it off as always with a look at the market.
Yep, 52.53 was the closing print yesterday on the ES June contract. You can see we're curling right back up off that level, the overnight low 52.30. Let's go ahead and say we're going to use that closing print yesterday as our level of support. So look for that 50-point level to act as that level of support. And if we really get going here, look for that 100-point level to act as resistance, 5,300.
All right, a lot to know about this morning. If you haven't done so, make sure you grab that. Go to the website, tradertv.live. Open a tab right now, go there. Wait for that pop-up and then enter your email address. You get that sent to you every single day. Has everything you need to know on it in the pre-market before we come on at 8:30. DELL, by far, it was instant almost after the close yesterday. Straight to the downside here to the tune of, what are we at now? 16.75%. Trying to get back to 140 right now. I mean, it was a miss, but it wasn't even that bad.
No, they beat on the top and bottom line. Really, it was a miss on the guidance here. And quite frankly, unless the guidance was overwhelming, this I feel would have sold off anyway because it was just up so much. Adair and I were looking at this, and from the lows that it made, I believe in October or something like that, it was up 140% since that time. So here's how they did. EPS, $1.27. The street was looking for $1.26. Revenue, big, $22.25 billion. The street was looking for 21 2/3. The main one, though, there is their server sales, big, $5.5 billion. That's a 42% increase year over year. That's what they're looking for, Brendo, to continue to grow that AI server business.
Yeah, it's a big number here to start things off, but very, very key, guys, to zoom out on this one this morning.
Yeah, zoom way out on that one. Just find any key levels for DELL. Like that margin miss, not necessarily the best thing in the world, but you know, it's not the same thing as CRM yesterday, because very distinctly looking charts. Like CRM actually had been in the midst of a pullback and was not looking strong. DELL just had to be perfect, and so I feel as if it's just a different story here. The trend is entirely intact till it gets crazy to say that, but $130 is the 50 period. That's where the stock has had support. You have to go all the way back to August of 2023. You can probably make an argument, yeah, right here, August of 2023. This has been bouncing off the 50 period. Yes, it's gotten a little bit extended away from it, but even the last time it did so, there was a dip, it didn't tag it, eventually it tagged off the 50 and was good to go. So until that happens, I think, you know, it's still in a healthy correction. It's going to be short sell restricted, so that puts 135 and 140 into play, much like CRM, just because it's SSR. So those are the things I'm going to look at for DELL. I'm not really feeling the short on it. It's a little too tight to that 50 period on the daily to think that it's got that much more room into the downside. So I'll be looking for one of those false breaks of an even dollar level to try to catch a bit of a bid on DELL. And if it gets to the 50 period on the daily in the next days and weeks and bounces, I think it's going to be a good long from there. Now, that's the kind of pattern I respect until it stops working.
Yeah, I think the one thing that we don't do enough is look at these names once they start to open up, because I look at them and say, I don't want to trade something on earnings because I'm not really sure what it wants to do. And I feel like today is a good example of that. I mean, from 8 o'clock, we've been down to 140, up to 145, and then back in and settling in the middle. So until it can figure itself out, I don't really have too much interest in DELL. But as the market opens, I do want to watch this little blue line, which is VWAP. So we like to sort of play the gap back to VWAP, so gap to VWAP. So that hopefully the gap there is 148 into this 141 area. So let's see if we can get back up to there. If it wants to go upside, then we can play longs when it comes back into VWAP. If it goes downside, then we can short it when we come back into that level. So right off the open, I'm not super excited one way or the other here. DELL's had a great run, and this is just getting some off, honestly. Like, it's nasty and it's horrible, but at the end of the day, it's had a huge run, and you're just back to where you were May 21st. So what day is it today? 31st? So, you know, 10 calendar days ago is where DELL is now. So I feel like you're fine, but now you know a little bit more information. It's getting hit for a reason. I believe the short is going to be the right play, so I'm hoping for a down move back into VWAP, and then we short somewhere around probably 142, 143. But let the move happen first and play the retracement short back in for me.
All right, we'll go on to semiconductors here. Big, ugly red candles on the daily charts across the board here for this group yesterday, coming on that headline that the U.S., it was late in the day as well, as the U.S. was going to further limit chips going to the Middle East in the near term. This was kind of interesting this morning. I was reading through this as a UBS note suggesting that 1/5 of NVIDIA's entire revenue could be coming from Microsoft alone. Seems like a high number for one customer. Yeah, and you were talking about the data center angle as well. I mean, it's high.
22.5 of 26 billion in revenue was data center, and then 40% of that, Brenda, was like 4 or 5 names. That's kind of crazy. With respect to this specific headline, overnight coming out that the U.S. government may be kind of putting the brakes temporarily on some of the licensing for the AI chips that are being exported to the Middle East, specifically Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. The fear here is that China may somehow get their hands on these chips. Obviously, the export embargo there to keep China from advancing their artificial intelligence in the military capacity, Brenda.
Yeah, we saw that big reaction. What time was that? It was about 3. Yeah, it was after 3 o'clock yesterday. Big reaction late in the day yesterday on that headline, but doesn't seem to be all that bad so far today, guys.
Let's see what happens. Yeah, so we have, well, SMMT is going again here, 9 and change. We'll talk about that in a minute. But here today, for the sticky note, I mean, I wrote down here AMD. Watch for negative news related to the Middle East. NVIDIA is hot this AM, so we got to wait and be patient. I had 168 short sell, so it's the #1 idea that we have here on the note today. Go grab it at Trader TV. Sean Bears vs. Bulls will put that in the chat for sure. It's always there anyways. But I actually was sitting here in the pre-market, and then that PCE number hit, and I canceled it. And we only got to 167.50. So I'm pretty happy with that 168 level if we can get into that. So again, this is what it looks like to me. AMD, we nailed it yesterday on that short on this news when it broke around 3:30 or whatever time that was. And I'm just looking here. So I like to draw these lines, and then you see me do that all over the place. That was a little bit too high. But anyways, either way, you know, it's like getting all of this garbage kind of out of here, like all of this stuff. If you're going to rip higher, that's fine. We can get into 175, and we'll talk about it then. But for now, we've really been like, this has been the top, this has been the top, right? We had a top yesterday. So that's that 168 to 170 level. So the way this stock has been trading, and you saw me trade this way with Tesla yesterday, it's like, as you can get into some of these levels, I feel like it's worth trying the short, right? So it's like Tesla yesterday. I wasn't sure if 175 was going to be exactly the bottom there. So we had to hold it against us. It went to 174.30 something. So that's, you know, 50, 70, $1 against you sometimes. So if we start to look at this at 168, if it starts to rip up, I don't want to get too, happy fingers here on a Friday and worry about 170 real quick. But that's going to be probably the level that changes my mind, where we let it at that point start to get to the upside and then maybe fade it once it goes. But I want to be short into 170. If it breaks, we can use that as our out. So I'm going to share size accordingly if it happens early. But if we break through 170 and start to go to the upside, then we're going to have to watch out for that. I don't know if there's enough negativity right now, especially with NVIDIA doing what it wants to do, to get below this 164. So right now we're right in the middle. 168, it's a big trade. We had to wait for Tesla yesterday. I'm offering there now. This for me, this is the one.
I can't believe Summit. We were just talking about that Summit. We'll get to Summit in a quick second. We were just talking about it was kind of calmed down, and there might have been a chance for it to be a calm open and get something at 9:30. It is gonzo. It just tagged $10. It's wild. So like, I don't have too much different to say about AMD, with the exception that if it breaks 170, I like 71 as an absolute top, and that was the close. When it made that big move in and sort of rejected the breakout above 173, it had to close at 171. So that's more the line in the sand. I want to give things wide berth if we're going to do so. And then NVIDIA was mentioning, it's still, to me, in the pocket of this rejection that it had at 1150. A couple of times it tried to break the 1150 in the last 3 days. And each time it's been, get a couple of dollars above. First time I think it went to 55 and then turn around. Yesterday I had the break. When it took out that top, it couldn't get past 58. I then took it a second time, which was a mistake. and then that turnaround. So it's been a short every single time it's broken through 50 and then failed it. I would almost bring that down to this lower high at sort of 1142, 1145. If it does something similar, tries to break out the lower high and gets back underneath it, I think it's a short back into 25. And then we're not even done with the 1125 level. This is where this was when the news came out. It's stronger than NVIDIA, so it requires way more patience to even think about going into a short. And then the afternoon play for me was it was going to be short Micron regardless of that news. All the chip names got dragged down by said news. Micron just made a monster bounce on that number. $3 move to the upside on Micron at 830, which is a little bit wild. Puts it right back into like head and shoulders territory at 130. So I didn't think this was a level that had any chance. Didn't even bother putting it on my note because as far as I was concerned, it's at $125. You're not getting this thing anywhere near the 130 level. But I now have to add that one to my list as sometimes PCE or any 830 number comes out there and you just have a little something spectacular or just out of nowhere and you have to adjust your target. So as I said, when this is at 125, I didn't really think you'd get that key level of 130 to work off of, and it's only a couple of dollars away here on Micron.
All right, let's talk retail here. Sharif and I were just mentioning the simple fact that if you just went back to last year or the end of last year and said, all you have to do is just buy retail names or specifically clothing retail names, Gap, A&F. I mean, absolutely monstrous so far, right back to the highs here. On a beat across the board, 25% here for Gap today.
Ridiculous. I mean, I was just telling Brendo off camera, I don't even remember the last time I went in one of these stores, let alone looked at the window. All right, EPS beat huge, 41 cents per share. The street was looking for 14. That's a beat by 27 cents. That's ridiculous. Revenue, 3.39 million was the amount. The street was looking for 3.29, so $100 million beat there. It was really all for three reasons. New CEO Richard Dixon's turnaround strategy, focusing on brand storytelling and marketing. They're getting some celebrity endorsements as well as keeping a leaner inventory, Brendo.
Yeah, A&F is also, was higher a little bit this morning on that, but just an absolute monstrous chart for it as well. Impressive, guys, to say the least here for GPS once again.
It's starting to go a little bit higher. Not a horrible PE either, 15 right now. I don't know if that's adjusted real time, so we'll get a higher number today on that as earnings per share go a little higher here today. But there it is, man, $28. Just another huge move. And I think the key thing there is what Brendan mentioned, their new CEO, you know, like these that's now in the helm. It's like you got to give. We saw the same thing with Foot Locker. They had changed management as well a couple quarters ago, I believe, and they got the benefit of that after like a turnaround, a different business plan. They're coming through. Now, you know, you got to go through rough periods in order to get these moves higher. So it's not like they were necessarily performing that well. I mean, Gap is just all the way back to where it was back in March. So as Brendan mentioned, if you bought this sort of at the beginning of the year here in January, 21, 22 bucks, you're right back to this high again. So the question really just remains, is it going to take out 29 bucks? Because that's the level that you're worried about, and it's actually 28.60. So that's the level you're worried about. I think a pullback here is not going to happen today. I like the fact that gaps get filled. I feel like eventually it'll come back down, but I don't know. I don't know enough about. I mean, I know they have Banana Republic, I think, Old Navy, Gap stores. I don't know. I mean, we spend a lot of money there. I like my kids wear, you know, the Gap polos and, you know, the bathing suits from Old Navy or, you know, Gap and stuff like that. So there's a really nice store in Sherway. I mean, they're in higher caliber malls around here, and the stores are quite nice. And I know they have a huge online presence. So I like the name. I don't think you buy it today, but yeah, good one. Dip buys back into the 50-period moving average, I think needs to be looked at. But again, the same kind of a strategy, as I said before, play the gap back to VWAP. So right now it's at 28. I always laugh because that sounds so dumb, but I learned that from Brian. So there it is, $28. I feel like that could come into play. Obviously, it's going to. So you can't play VWAP right now. Got to let these names go for a minute. I'm staying away from earnings plays in the first 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, there's actually a bidder for like 20,000 shares, which is relatively a lot. It's been sitting there in front of the 28 level for what it's worth. So that's why you're seeing it bounce off this 28 level a couple of times here in the pre-market. If it breaks 28, there's like the obvious a bounce off the pre-market high, like fail break underneath 27.50, pre-market low, I should say. If that gets taken out, then you look aftermarket, I think, at this 26.5, 27 area, and I want to look for a dip buy. I don't want to sit on the bid for a dip buy. That's my approach to GPS. It's not like some SSR play where I know I'm looking at an even dollar level. It gets down there, I'm going to make some kind of a play as long as there's even a hint of strength. That's a very different story. Can it take out the top? Sure, that's certainly possible, but it's not doing a ton of pre-market volume. I want to see it open up first. So I'm looking dip buy. If it holds a pre-market low, we get a zip down under and then a reclaim of 27.50, then we go there. Otherwise, I wait for this little zone. It's about 26.5 on gap. And then I said I'd mention Summit and then look at it, but we didn't. Sorry about that. Summit pressed to $10, which was end of the day bottom on Summit was $10. So that little support has turned into resistance. I was really hoping, my plan of action on Summit was that first halt was $6.96. My plan was just, if there's a chance after the open to dip into that halt price, because it halted for a long time, it reopened, got up to $7, so I consider that like the first anchor price that you can use on the way back. That's kind of out the window now to look for a dip buy into 7 when it's at 9.50. So I'm just going to have to start playing it by ear on Summit. But yeah, I was kind of looking for something in front of that $7, thinking it was, hey, this is really setting up that you could have a go off of 7, and then now it's at $10. So that's completely out the window.
All right, let's go to DJT here. Trump media upside now to the tune of 6.5% after being negative initially after the close yesterday when the verdict comes out. If you missed it, Donald Trump being found guilty on all counts of falsifying business records in New York yesterday. What a move this has been ever since, even pre-market this morning. $50 holds briefly there. I was watching it early on, very, very thinly traded, now all the way to 55 here. This is, regardless of what anyone thinks, it's going to be in play.
Oh yeah, exactly. We're going to talk about it from a trading perspective, and that's exactly what it's doing right now at that $55 area. I'll be looking for that 52 area as a good level of support if it makes its way down. That's the closing print from yesterday after it sold off aggressively overnight, recovering and then some, all the losses there, and so precipitating some media outlets to change their headline that they had this morning.
Yeah, got to go where the action is here, guys. Definitely higher than normal. I was just going to double check relative volume wise, almost 2 at this point here. 6+ for DJT.
Yeah, it's not always the most liquid name. Let's get that out of the way. Like it's a high probability halt play. Just like a few people in the chat have mentioned this, NVOS, Novo. They're going to be a potential halt play as well, but this is just a different story. Liquidity is going to be at a premium here. I think it needs to take out, I was saying this on 57, but I think that's a little bit off. The first close was at 57.5-ish. And then you've got this resistance here at 56.5. So I'd almost say break out 58. Like if it gets past $58, all of a sudden you're back into anybody that kind of referenced that original close price on the first day, it's then back into the green. So I think it's a squeeze past 58, and everything else, maybe there's some dip buy opportunities back into like previous top yesterday is VWAP at 53. So I guess if it bounces off there, you can start to look for some longs. But 58 is that big level. I'm going to move it from 57 just for myself. I don't want to play it in the middle here, but I'm looking for potential breakout and squeeze. It doesn't have to make sense. It just has to start going. That's how these work.
All right, look, I was even last night, we were out, we had baseball, we had dinner, it was a great time. And then I came home, obviously, and as we're there on the field, I see convicted of this and that, and I'm thinking, okay, what does this mean for DJT? And it didn't mean that much, but right now it is starting to go back up to the upside right now. I think this is going, and then I got home, and this is what the story was, and I turned on CNN, and they were actually saying like, wow, this is rallying this side of the aisle, because now Donald Trump is getting, his website apparently crashed, the donation website. So I feel like there's a lot of people now that are even more pissed off at the Democrats for even bringing this to the table, waste the taxpayers' money, blah, blah, blah. No matter what you think, I feel like people might rally behind this name again here today. So let's just see what winds up happening. Like we said, we'll trade price action. Apparently, Donald is speaking. Is speaking at. I never call him that. Speaking at 11 o'clock is what I was reading. So if that comes through now, he can now be out of Manhattan. He's no more court necessary for him. So until they appeal, I guess. And 56.50, that looks like it's going to be a blast off level. So get ready for the, I guess the campaign trail to begin now, because he's going to be up there, talk. And I could see the stock going. So it's what was it? I just looked at it. It was 6 cents. I didn't pay for shorts yet. It's 6 cents. Is not that expensive.
Super cheap.
Right? So I feel like there's, good possibility there that will be involved in this name. But for me, like that 56 is a great break level. And as Neil said, if this name's going to halt, then that means it probably has a $15 or $20 range today, right? Because it's got to halt after $5, and then once it halts, then probably has another $5 move in it, right? So just get ready to play this, and that's why I talk about 6 cents is it's not that expensive if you're going to be in this name. So DJT definitely one to watch with 10 minutes to go.
All right, let's go to Chinese ADRs downside here this morning. There's a couple of minor headlines, really. Some economic data comes out overnight, misses expectations on the manufacturing side. That pressured Asian markets across the board on overnight trading. So some of the ADRs following suit. It's a daily chart of Alibaba, so it's been straight southbound for the past week and a half here. $90, we're already back to 75.
Unbelievable, yeah. Keeping an eye on Baba, down 2 1/5. Another headline coming out overnight here for Pinduoduo, PDD, more European related than North American. Looks as if they're going to have to register as, I believe, a very large VLOP, whatever that stands for, with 45 million users and over. We've seen this come out of the European Union as of late, very protectionist policies, especially with the EVs now extending to online retail, Brenda.
All right, this section of the show brought to you by our friends over at American Airs, trading in the USA under the symbol AAIRF, on the OTC, and in Canada under the symbol WIFI. This company just announced a knockout punch, a global marketing partnership with the UFC. Airs Tech is dedicated to bridging the gap between technology and wellness. Airs Tech's mission is to provide cutting-edge solutions that protect against electromagnetic radiation without disrupting everyday use of technology. This innovative company has seen consistent revenue growth and boasts several high-profile customers like Kim Kardashian and Russell Brand. Invest in American Airs today. OTC QB AAIRF on the CSE here in Toronto, WIFI.
I like that ticker, Wi-Fi for the ticker. That's always a good one. Look, Chinese ADRs are weak. There was a story about PDD and Temu. Was it 2 days ago? It was this week. It was Tuesday or Wednesday. Let's just put it there. And I remember the first thought I had was, okay, if Europe's going to be cracking down on them, it just recently had pulled back from an all-time high, and it was starting to reject the previous top. So there's your pullback from, actually, no, check that. It's a 52-week high. It's not an all-time high. The stock was $200 way back when. So it was a 52-week high breakout that it was doing. Then the lower high in here. It shrugged off that news to essentially hold the 150 level a couple of times this week. But then an interesting pattern. So it bounces back through 150, wick top 54, bounced back another time, wick top 54. Yesterday, wick top 55. So like it makes this early rally 2 days in a row after a late bounce, and then rejects 54, 55. So on the off chance the same thing happens again, if we pop past, say, 53 and this stock goes green, I'm just looking for any curl or wick top at 54, 55 on Pinduoduo, and then I want to look for a consolidation short underneath it and then just hold it at least until the afternoon when everything stops on these stocks. Because if you look at this, it makes that move up, and if you're looking to fade it, once we get to about 1 o'clock or past noon, it just goes sideways. So you've pretty much gotten everything you're going to get on that pop and fade. So I like what's happening on the stock, I don't think I want to be taking any breakouts on it. It's been doing breakouts at the open, but every single day you've been seeing this pop and fade, pop and fade, pop and fade. So I want to look for the same thing here on Pinduoduo. It's an interesting pattern with great wick tops that you can try to take advantage of.
All right, so I have written on here, first of all, shout what's up to Ponzi Fonzie. I did get your email, your message on Twitter about the slots. I'm going to find out. I don't know where the slots went, so we're going to find out. We're going to get those back. We did not pull them on purpose. Could be something to do with Streamlabs. I mean, I thought they were pretty fun, so we'll get those slots back. I have no idea. Bears versus Bulls is going to look into that, and so will we. Okay, so look, I wrote down here Alibaba as a good trade idea. One of the better trades that I've had this week, or maybe last week, I think it was this week, was shorting Alibaba off of 81. We took it from 81 down to 80. Obviously, we got out all the way there, but it was a good trade. So I'm just saying, we had negative, bad data already, bad factory data. We had under 80 now is key. So I think you got to watch between 79 and 80 right there for Alibaba. It's just a key level right there, and obviously the trend with a little broken arrow is to the downside there for Baba. So for me, it's just keep it as simple as possible, stupid, and just that's it. Like, short this name. We're under 80. It's a short until we get above it, and I'll hear nothing else. So, and then, I'll hear it down here at 70 once it gets here, maybe next week, but $70 to $72 is another. That's where I've bought it, so that's another zone for me to get more. But for right now, Alibaba, definitely a missed opportunity as we go up to 90, and we had 30% in the money and we didn't take it. So Alibaba now all the way down, trapping a lot of longs up here, because once it broke 80, it looked pretty juicy there. So it's trapping long, so that's why the short will work for a while. So yeah. Never good to get up there, but again, a dip back into 70. We like Alibaba, but unfortunately for me right now, it is a short. And then I know we have to go to Sharif, so just one quick second here on the imbalances, because we always look at it. Remember this name? This was hot for a minute there, Crown Electric. Apple with a sell. So actually, I'm going to cancel.
Oh, no.
I'll cancel my Apple bid. I was at 191 on Apple here, but we're going to wait for that. Google with a sell as well there today. So some selling coming early on this market. Let's hold off on this and go to the desk with Sharif.
All right, guys, the last day of the futures week today. We're going to get even more nuance. We're going to be talking about the implied balance high and low. If you're into that sort of thing, make sure to check that out with Adair and I on How to Trade at 11.
Well, actually, we have 3 minutes left. Don't have to rush anything necessarily. We didn't talk about Tesla this morning. They're on the watch list. There was like a small recall, but Tesla and recalls not necessarily that big of a deal. There was a punch through 180 yesterday, so it was a great long several stages, and then it broke the 180 to get to 183. I don't know why this went away, but then double tap now this morning and again in the afternoon, it rejected the 180 level. So it's got this little head and shoulders look going on. So I think this is, again, the key level to play off, or at least the secondary level to play off of. If it gets above 180, it needs to show a bid, because I don't think the breakout's in play after you've already seen it do it yesterday. But if it can hold a bit above, I think it's got $3 worth of room. And if it's not breaking 180 or fail breaking it, I think underneath, you're looking for some shorts there. Rivian was a big runner as well. Yesterday's trade, along with NEO, and a very similar pattern. Like, it made a big top up here and rejected the $11 level. It's rejected the $11 level another time. So I think those two EV names are going to be in play. The 11, maybe not it's not that clean of a level. You've seen it kind of get through 5-10 cents above. So a false breakout is what you'd need for a pullback. So those both are going to be on play. Novo, as mentioned, I didn't say what the news was. They had a buyback for that NVOS stock. So it's not a huge floater. It's going to do a ton of volume today. It just came back down through $1. I just want to look for a possible trend in this, but I'm going to let it open up and maybe set some levels. I don't want to say something as simple as, let's just buy VWAP because it was working before. I've never seen this stock in the open market, and it doesn't usually do this kind of volume. So let's let it calm down. I have no idea if it's going to be a halt candidate or anything like that. But penny stocks have to move a little bit more to halt, but that's only when they're under 75 cents. And this was under 75 cents yesterday.
So silly disciplined me. We should be 70 cents in the money now on Apple. We were sitting here at 191. We wrote down 191. But then the market came in there, and I was like, do we really like 191? So I'll sit there now small just to take it, and then if we can get 50 cents on a couple shares, we'll do that just because. And then that way, if it continues to run down, we don't have to worry too much about it because we won't have too many shares and we can regroup the thought at that time. But for now, the market looks like it wants to come in. And we talked about it getting to 18.7. It got to 18.670. So pretty close to that level. I still think that that is something to look at with only 10 seconds left. Yeah, Apple on watch, GameStop, AMD up at the top there, Baba. So lots of stuff happening with only 2 and 1. All right, thank you, Adara. We'll watch out for NVIDIA tanking a little bit right now. Apple getting back up to the upside, so there's no surprise there. I do like the 193 break long if we get going there on Apple potentially, but we can even take the day's high break there at 192.11. That's not a horrible trade either. Maybe we should look at that. 192.25 for a break on Apple. I'm going to switch that over right now from 193 to 192.25, yesterday's high.
Yeah, just seeing, I mean, Summit opened up here. No big move, no halt, nothing like that. It looks like it's right at the 9. I was looking for a bit of a dip buy. Oh, GameStop is already starting to go. Oh, there's GameStop. It looks like it's going to make a run at that $23 level pretty quickly. DJT actually dipping to the downside. NVIDIA's already heading down, so there was no pop. There was no pop to be shorted on that name. Pinduoduo immediately heading down, no pop to be shorted there. And Gap, the other one watching off of the open, it's pulling back. I said the first look for me would be $26.50. It ain't there just yet. Oh wow, DJT's really starting to fall. Is that? It's not 10%. It's probably not going to halt because it's only down a couple of dollars, but a big dip into VWAP for that.
All right, so we have our first position here. It's a short on AMD. It's just to start it. It's if we break 167, we're out. I just wanted to play off that top, which is just 167. I don't even want to hold it to 167.50. I'm not sure I love this trade, but I just saw NVIDIA make that move down. So there goes NVIDIA. Kind of as we had mentioned, you know, what 1130, we talked about this level in the pre-market and how I liked it from yesterday. It looks like it is going to be that level. So there it goes to the downside right there. But you know what, man, now we're 40, 50 cents in the money here. There it is. Yes, sir. Hey, hey, you know, I see you. I see you. A little bit of a trade right there. All right, there goes Apple. So now we're into Apple. So forget about cheering the short on anymore. Now we need this long to go the other way. So now we are into Apple, 192.30. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, and here also Gap bouncing off $26.
Jeez.
I'm going to get to GameStop in a second. I had the 23 break. It just came back underneath, but Gap is now down at 26. This is a spot that we're looking for the dip buy right in this range. So if it can bounce here, get maybe through the quarters, which it just did, and I did not get filled there. I'm not going to move my bid. Going to make sure we get the stop underneath that $26 area. Didn't want to move the bid in there to try to get picked up. Bit of a spread forming. DJT still in a pullback. NVIDIA, I wish we had it, but I was looking for something a little bit tight. It was right in the middle of the range I liked, and it just tanked, continuing to flush in here. So we'll have to look for some kind of a pop to be able to short. I liked Micron as well. That was going to be the other one, and it's actually coming to the upside just a little bit. But a bit of a miss out there on NVIDIA. That was the one I preferred for the short side, and it's already down 15 bucks.
Yeah, that's why we went right over to AMD because we had seen the sort of how aggressive that NVIDIA was exactly. But yeah, good look there. I still do like that one. All right, so we did get out of not enough. We got out of about 20% or so of Apple up here as it ripped up because I was like, what? That started to go immediately there. So we kind of got into this a little bit early. We understand that. We don't want to necessarily just be punching into things at 9:30, especially when we have PCE on a day like PCE where the market could easily give it back. So that's what we're doing right now. We are giving this back to 191.60. I was sort of going to wait out for 191. This was the level that we had talked about. We just got excited on it early. So I do want to wait. We had written down 191 and took out some profit. So now I think it's about time to hold it. We do have AMD short in the money, 50 cents. So one name out of the money, one name in the money, and we just got to sort of hold it. So 50 cents long out, 50 cents short in. But I really like the AMD trade. We just got to keep our eye, of course, on NVIDIA. But there it goes again, back through 166. So I've canceled my short up here for now, just to let it watch. And I'm going to focus more here on Apple, as this has been the one for me here today. And then Amazon trying to go downside, and we wanted to talk about that as well. But for right now, it's Apple for me. We got to watch out for that one.
So I'm back into GameStop, but very quickly here. Dell already broke 140. There was no bounce. I saw the bid. It was basically
Dell.
non-existent. It is short sell restricted, being down 10%, but there was no hold of the even dollar. And DJT just went through $50, through 49. It's about to tag 48. Still no halts. I feel like it went 10. I guess it didn't go fast enough, but it's only 935. So no halt yet on the stock, but it is absolutely tanking right now on DJT. Down, it was up 6%. It's down 6% now. GameStop, I got back in. Look, I got wicked out. I set the pre-market high as my out, and then it retook 23, so I jumped back into it. Gonna scalp into 23.50. I feel like it might be a meme day. When the big cap tech names go to the downside, sometimes you gotta find squeeze names to go to the upside. But I'm gonna be very patient with Dell. I made a keystroke error when trying to make an SSR bounce play in CRM yesterday, so I want to be very, very selective and patient with Dell. 35 would be the next level to the downside. Still no halt for DJT. That's a big drop. I don't understand why. I thought it should have halted there, but I guess not.
I mean, yeah.
I don't know.
Wasn't that 10% down? Okay, so we'll wait for DJT and figure that all out right now. All right, so remember we said that we were going to sort of hold out on AMD, so now it's starting to go back up to the upside. Remember, 167 and change is our out there for advanced micro devices. I did want to look at Alibaba, and I do want to look at Palantir, and unfortunately Alibaba's, well, not unfortunately, but here it's coming back up to the upside. I'm going to wait for that 79. We may get that, so that could be cool. If that comes in, we definitely want to look at that. And then our Palantir trade, I mean, had to move up there already. Now it's coming back in, so I still like this 2160. I believe, if I am correct, that is where I am bidding. Okay, so AMD just went through 167, so that was just literally a flat trade there, 50 cents both ways. We sort of knew that was going to be the case for the risk to reward early on that one, so we do not have AMD anymore. We just have Apple and possibly Palantir if we can get into 2160. What's up, Adara?
Oh,
Sorry about that, guys. We do have Amazon here on watch trading to the downside. There is this U.S. agency looking to get more details on potential crashes for Zooks, which are, this is owned by Amazon, and this self-driving vehicle. So some self-driving vehicle issues and potential probe here for AMZN, guys. Sorry about that.
Tesla just went green on the day after tanking $2.50 at the open. Looks like we might get a breakout past that 180 level one more time. So yesterday, the plan of action, the second time through was better. We actually caught it. It false broke the first time. The second time through, it held the 180. So I want to go with that approach. I'm not shorting it at this level. It's way too much of a recovery to want to just blindly short the top, and it was super strong in yesterday's trade. GameStop's continuing to go. I have my eyes on DJT because if there is a turn or a halt, I want to be involved. But I'm telling you, it's not seeming like it has any interest in halting despite the lack of liquidity. It's now down at 47.5. I don't have any levels on DJT. I'll let you guys know if it goes into a halt. GME, I'm looking for a dip into 23. If we get to 24, I want to take this one out. And NVIDIA, okay, here comes the pop in NVIDIA. So it's starting to come back up. That 1125 is where everything started yesterday. That's where it failed at the open. If it fails a break of 1125, I want to short it on the way back through. And then if I can get Micron nowhere near 130, but the 128 level, that's where things started falling apart in the afternoon there as well. Those are the two that I like for the south side. Someone's spoofing GME right now. Yeah, good luck with that, buddy.
Yeah, I don't think I put too many shares in around.
Someone has 4 19,000 share orders on the bid, 47.82 on that.
All right, so we do have coming up here, let's not forget about what we're doing. We still have Apple shares, obviously. It's the only trade that we have on right now. We do have coming up right now, I mean, it's going to be at 9:45 here, Chicago PMI. So expected 41, prior 37. So that's going to be a number as well. So get ready for that one coming through. And that's why, and that's not why, but I did take I took something out here as we came back into 192 here for Apple. We were able to buy some there at the 50 period at 70. So you know, now we're kind of just chilling out right now. Oh, AMD's up to 168 right now. So I don't know if I want to be long Apple into this number and short AMD, but, you know, AMD just hit that 168 level that I liked. I'm going to hold off on it, but definitely keep it in mind. Apple just went up again. We got a 192.10. That was a good fill. There's Apple. It just blasted to 15s there. So we take that fill. Let's see if we get one more little push higher. This is where we're long, 192.20. We sort of punched along here at right there at 25 and then averaged a little bit in. So it's not like our price got that much better. I didn't want to put that much on. Right there, did Baba get to 29 yet? Or sorry, 79, 29. Nope. And then Palantir, just one more look. I have them, actually I got to put Palantir up. I have Amazon on my mind for some reason as a short. I'm not engaged in a short yet. I still want to see what Apple can do here. So yeah, those are my trades so far. So it needs to get going. Come on, Apple. I would really like it to get above that 192.50 so that we can get that move into 93, right? So it needs to, like there, this level right here is 25. That's where we broke it long. We tried to get it. We did get it up to 50. We did take some out up there, but it needs to get going higher and higher and higher. And here goes Apple right now. Yes, sir. Let's see if we can get this one going. As we said, we're staying in these names, man. We're believing in these names. We held this one a little bit against us. Let's get back higher there for Apple.
NVIDIA's starting to run. So I got in and out flat of GameStop. Actually, it's not true. I got in, accidentally got out for like 20 cents there, everything. So I just jumped right back in at the higher price that we got out. I'm giving this to 22.69. We're going to go to Adara, but NVIDIA's at 11.26. So this is the level. If it fails this breakout, I want to look for it back underneath. Let's go to Adara.
Nice move up here for VF Corporations. VFC up about 10% right now, announcing that Sun Cho, who just recently, earlier this month, resigned from Lululemon as its chief product officer. Sun Cho now set to be the global brand president of Vans. So nice look here for VFC to the upside, guys.
Get those Vans. All right, so right now, I'm still waiting. We've taken some out here on Apple. I mean, obviously, this is going to be a positive name for me right here. We are completely flat on AMD as AMD dances around this level that we had talked about now of 68. So I think we'll go a little short here if we can on AMD. We'll have to punch it. We'd say I just offered it and missed it, of course.
I just missed NVIDIA.
Yeah, so we'll try it. Wow, now it's getting away from me a little bit here, but that's okay. We're now short into AMD, long into Apple. Apple's getting going a little bit here right now. We're long 192. We wrote down 191. We like that trade, but here it goes. Let's get higher, man. We're in 60, 65s. We need this to go. Let's go, Apple, to the upside right now. If we can get that going, we'll get pretty excited for that one. Come on, AMD. Come on down. You're the next contestant on Who Wants to Go Lower. It's you, AMD. So let's see where we go. We just take a little bit of profit on that one, but let's get going here on Apple upside, AMD downside. All right. Both these levels are starting to hit now, so let's get going here. Hopefully AMD gets a drop in right now, and a thank you very much for 168.60 high. That's probably where we're going to get out. So let's see what happens now as the numbers are coming out. You see, this is why you got to get out of some Apple when it starts to go like that. Now we'll play the pullback. AMD is a monster, so 168.60 is our out. Daily high right there as the futures approach the 50-period moving average.
Yeah, the second I was missing this trade on NVIDIA, I went right over. I didn't do this in the afternoon yesterday when I was missing NVIDIA at 25 and had to chase the 20s, which was just get underneath on 168 on AMD. I was trying to grab 24s here on NVIDIA. As you can see, like it wicked the top, it failed to break out, and then plunged $5 very, very quickly. So if it goes, it goes. We'll see what happens. I am in GameStop. That's the only other thing. Whoever was doing that nonsense on DJT, it kind of worked. I mean, they were spoofing the bid, and it actually pushed it up to almost $49. So it is bouncing a little bit here, but there was no halt to the downside. I'm still a little bit confused why not, but it is catching a bid. I want to take breaks on that, maybe through like $50. AMD's starting to go up, and NVIDIA's retesting 11.25. I'm offering on the way to the high on GameStop, so I want to be taking profit there. We're only in 2 names at this particular point, and I just wanted to get to this NVOS. So I never got the dip. Remember, I was joking about, I don't want to just buy the dip into VWAP. I want to see it open up. Well, you could have just bought the dip into VWAP. It's halted up at 108. It bounced exactly off of VWAP at 88 cents. Twice. And now halted up. TAP is currently flat on NVOS. Low float runner.
All right, so we're going to go long on Tesla here if it breaks this high of 180, 180.60 or so on Tesla. That's the high we want to try to grab here if it does break it, and then we'll take a bunch of shares. And then if it fails, we're going to have to, we'll be concerned if it fails. I'm actually going to lower my share size because I don't really have a great out if this does make that move. I'm just going to take off about 25% of what I was going to hit it with. And the reason is like, I don't want to have to hold this all the way back to 179.25. So I don't want to have that many shares. So we're already sort of thinking about that. But I love the long, and I'm going to hold it. But that's the thing. Like $1 down is a lot, so you're going to have to figure that all out. But we do have numbers in 10 seconds. We said 45. Let's go.
We're just waiting here for that Chicago PMI print. Previous 37.9, consensus 41, forecast 39 here for that Chicago PMI. Let's see if we got this out. Still waiting here on this number for the Chicago PMI for the month of May. Coming in 35.4, so that's going to be lower here than the forecast of 41.5 and the previous of 37.9. Bit of a move down here on the SPY on that lower than expected Chicago PMI. 35.4 versus the forecast of 41.5, guys.
All right, so, we're in the money 30 cents on AMD, but Apple fell back in, so I'm a little bit like, okay, do we really want to mess with this number? It is pretty low there, coming through on the Chicago PMI. So, I don't actually see it on, what was it? I heard the number, but all right, 35.4, so not a good one there against expected. But again, is bad good for the market or good bad for the market? So we'll figure that all out. But right now we're long at 192, and it doesn't look overly healthy right now. I'm going to put there. We got some out at 90, so that's okay now. And then I'm going to cancel my 12s. I did have a 192.12 order coming through there, so let's watch out. I'm going to assume that Tesla's pulled back a little bit now, so okay, we'll wait for that to ramp up itself a little bit and try to break that high again. But for right now, we go from a great position in Apple to right here coming back against us as the futures touch VWAP there. So a little bit of a pullback on that number.
Yeah, a little bit. So I got NVIDIA on the way back through. It did a double top. It's 127.27. I'm not making that number up. It's actually, 11.27.27 just double topped 127. 11.27.27 just double topped in NVIDIA. I have 23s back in. If it breaks 20, we're going to start to get out. So both these names, AMD and NVIDIA, making somewhat top wicks in here. We'll see if that's the case. GameStop, by the way, came out. So it pulled back in. We grabbed it a second time. It's starting to tank down through. So it's now underneath yesterday's break or yesterday's triple top. So once that happens, we're giving up the long on that particular name. So we got two chip names to the short side. NVIDIA, I want to see it cracking through 1120, at least into VWAP, and then look for the low down there. DJT still very much on my radar if it can break out $50 as well. So there's your bottom. It's trying to put in a higher low. If this takes out 50, I feel like it wiped out a bunch of people at the open. And if it can go after doing that, there's probably a little bit less resistance on DJT. I almost called it something else.
Yeah, DJT. All right, 178. So I'm going to get out here. We just went long on Tesla. So right there, it does fall back in. Let's watch to see Tesla's doing. We had a great trade there on AMD, and we covered some. So we'll just go back over here and see what we could do now on TSLA. We got that big move down. We saw relative strength in Tesla, obviously early, but then getting hit on this number. So let's take advantage of that. We'll buy some 29s there. We're long at 178.30. We just take some out at 50. We talked about where our drop zone would have been there through 178. So if we can get 50 cents on it on the way back in, we'll do that. And then we'll wait for a little bit higher. We're waiting in the 80s, and then I don't know. It looks like the market's going to come back in for us. So it looks like that was a good out, at least somewhere there on on Tesla. But we're still dancing around. We just got more short here on AMD.
I just got taken out of AMD. Oh, no, boo. Yeah. I'm going to have to fail on my AMD there. I'm into that NOVO, NOVS off of the whole price. So it halted at 108. If it breaks like sixes, then I'm out of it. But I'm playing it basically a dip into the whole price. That's all. So if it breaks it, which it just did, want to risk 4 or 5 cents. I might take a couple shots at this. I think this can be like a multiple halter. But if I'm not playing it at $1, I'm playing it off of the whole price only. Still nothing on DJT. And as I said, I got taken out of AMD. I had 2/3 out of AMD, and then right into VWAP.
Go.
Exactly at VWAP, and then I got up. But I'm still in the NVIDIA trade, so I have one of the two still going.
Okay, yeah, we're still in AMD. So we're short right now. AMD, a nice little trade happening for us right now. I mean, obviously, we'd like to see this get a lot lower than where it is. But if it does, then I'm kind of trapped everywhere else, right? Because we have Tesla long that just worked again back to 50, but we're about to get taken out of that. Like, I don't know if this is going to hold 170. There it goes. I was going to say we might not hold it, and it didn't. So that could have just been a little bit of a false break there. But I'm okay not taking this down here. But I feel like we're going to look back, and this is going to be a little bit of a mistake. All right, let me just take a little bit. I want to get back in, so we're back into this. I'm going to now give it, just because it broke there, but not really. I feel like I don't want to give this too much, 177.50 now. Okay, so getting back in may have been that mistake, and this is when we realize that sometimes we get a little bit too confident in the plays that we thought we liked. So, but we're still in it right now, and look, having confidence in your plays again, including this AMD trade, is working out. So right now we are short. There it is. Let's go. Spin the money on AMD, that's for sure, as that is a big winner right now. 70 cents in the money on AMD. Let's go Tesla. Come on, we can make this back on you, but I don't know. Tesla and AMD right now, it's a tale of two stories here, as there goes AMD. Beautiful short down to the downside there, but Tesla long fading out again. I got excited for Tesla. Let's see if it still works. But it's AMD is the kicker for me now. AMD approaching a dollar club right there right now for the short of AMD. The trade idea number one there today will be my P&L one, and that's how it's supposed to be. But if Apple gets going, then hey, we should have a good one coming through here on Apple right now. Tesla trying to go, okay, now we're getting excited again, Sharif. Here we go. Let's see if we can get some moves now back up to the upside here. If Tesla can go, bang, we get that fill on Tesla. Now we're getting slapped action up here. Tesla's now going 70 cents in the money. We did reload that trade, but it's going to have to get going a little bit more for us. We're now up on Tesla on the day. AMD's $1 in the money, and Apple's trying to get going here. If Apple goes, ooh-wee, we could have a decent day here to start, and it's 9:51. I don't know how things are going over there for you, Neil, but we are rocking.
So I just threw a trail on NVIDIA. I didn't want to interrupt that, but obviously the chips are going to the downside, so it's starting to work, but you're catching a higher low on it. I can't ignore this. It's usually a long setup when it does a wick bottom like that and tries to put in a higher low. It did not get the best price on the way in. Oh, I'm back in NVOS as well, I should say that. So if we get through 18s, I'm going to jump out of that trade, look for a re-entry. I got out of AMD on this wick. Because I had a short in here, I actually set my stop for this top and not the actual top. So, it is what it is. That's the decision I made. It was the wrong one. I should have just played with the double top instead of that high. It's now back into VWAP. If NVIDIA goes, AMD's probably going to go. And then NVOS. So my target's probably going to take $10 here into 11.11 on NVIDIA. That's like 12, doesn't really matter. But NVOS, I did jump back in, tried to get this one breaking back out above that halt price. I'm only working off the halt price of 108. So every time it breaks it, I'm just going to get out. If it holds the halt price and bounces, I'll try to add on the way back up. But I'm only adding up. I'm not averaging down on this stock. I'm only going to add to it if it can make a big bounce to the upside. And then DJT, still no break at the $50 level. I don't mind that. If it consolidates and then breaks 50, that's probably better than it just running it outright.
Like, I don't even really want to get anything out of Tesla here, to be honest with you. But there it is, man. There's the dollar club on AMD. I mean, solid trade right there. Just wish we had more, obviously. All right, so that's always the case, right? There's Tesla right here. It looks like it wants to get lower here. We put our stop at, is that the right stop? 177.50? Yeah. So I thought I had a bid down here as well. Yeah, I don't know. Let me try. I was buying 177.70, which doesn't make sense if my stop is 50. We should just be buying. Let's just buy more right now, right here at 178. Like, if my stop can't be that tight to a reload level, that doesn't make any sense. All right, so, I mean, wow, okay, AMD, okay, I see you. Let's see how low we can go on AMD now. All right, Tesla. That level's 178.50. I am going to put out another share there, another piece to get out at 178.50, another 10% if we can do that, because here we go. We're getting the reload right there at 178. Remember where our stop is, 50 cents lower than this, so I have to start thinking about getting some out if we pop up again. The market is getting pretty much destroyed here early, honestly. Like, there's been one little bump up there, and then that number hit, and now we're downside. Remember, we got an upside move from PCE here, so I feel like underneath the market there's some help, but right now it looks pretty weak, and there goes, remember we just said about Tesla, watch out. It's good, there it goes, so it breaks lower on that one. So we'll slap a fail at the end of the day on the Tesla long. We tried it at 178, and honestly, I'm feeling pretty, comfortable with taking the same amount of risk to reward back and forth. So we'll hold out for this. We may eventually get long on a break back above 178, but I'm going to have to let it go through at least to this 178. 178.20 is right here, is the 50 period moving average. It needs to get back above there. So right now this appears to be a little broken. That's Tesla after what an amazing move it had. And I was getting excited to break the high. So I'll play that dip all the time, but here comes AMD right back up, actually.
Yeah, I just rang the register on NVIDIA. It put in that wick higher low, which I was kind of fearful of. It's NVIDIA.
I still like the
and I
stock.
said this, literally the lesson of the day yesterday was sometimes ignore that first initial move and respect what the trend is after the open, which would be if it puts in 2 wick bottoms, that could be like higher lows into a potential break. So I'm going to respect that. I said you look at the trend as it's actually forming for you. I still have a level that can be resistance. It needs to get back up there. Mullen's making some moves here, but I don't know if there's anything actually going on with the stock. It's very light volume. Let's just preface that. It's less than 1 million shares, but it's up 13%. So for what it's worth, Mullen is going. Still nothing on DJT. You can come into the day and think that you're going to be trading a stock, but if it doesn't want to go, it doesn't want to go. Flush to the downside. I'm looking for it to break out this top, and then we could be excited about that particular name. I do still like Micron for a short, and that is still setting up pretty decently for me underneath VWAP here. So I might settle into this one. I like the volume on this and where it's doing the volume, right underneath the obvious resistance of 127. So I feel a bit better about that one, because if NVIDIA goes, NVIDIA is going to rip faces off. Micron not necessarily going to do that as much. PDD has yet to break 150, but the play has been let it make its spike and then short it. So it's only now breaking 150 or attempting to break 150. If that happens, I'm going to look for that turn play. Might have got a good out in NVIDIA, but time's only going to tell. Let's go over to Adara.
We do actually have a bit of a catalyst on Mullen here. So they do have a short float of about 18.2% worth noting, but also this morning they announced they did hire this former European Mannheim and Copart executive to lead their Europe sales effort. This comes a few days after announcing that they've secured a major European order for some delivery EVs. So interesting look here for MULN and this ongoing Europe story, guys.
All right, we like sometimes we get a little obsessed with names here, but we're back into Tesla, man. We're back long at 177.75. So now it's starting to get going again. I said that we would probably get back in this, and I just wanted to believe in the name, and now we're positive on it. That's unbelievable. Okay. Well, now we're doing well on Tesla as that battles itself all the way back up. Okay, hands off. Take the wheel, Elon, literally, or don't. Actually, full self-drive, don't take the wheel. But there we go, nice move to the upside here. Whew, all right, that took something to do that one for sure. I was not certain about it. As there goes Tesla. Neil, it is another dollar club right there, as we talked about that. Yes, sir, all right. Whew, all right, that was fun. I hope you all enjoyed that, because there it goes, man. There it goes. CompuCare, you got smoked on DELL. You should have listened to Sean Katina. All right. Let me see what's up with that. Just leave this alone and play the short. So I guess you must have gone long there. But there it was right there. We wanted to play the back to VWAP. So the only trade that I would have had today would have been this short right there, 141, if you're looking at it, because it did play back to VWAP. So CompuCare, I don't know what play you had, but I definitely, again, when a company reports, especially negatively. I said this trade what it is, and the other one that was upside today was Gap, and so we can look at that again. But all right, I'll look at this in a minute. But yeah, that would have been the trade right back there, and it's actually happening again. You could fade this 140 again off VWAP if you wanted that trade, but then you got to get out when it breaks higher, right? Like that's 140.50, 141. I'd give this 140 short about $1 and change if you can. But OMG right now, we say, because there goes Tesla, and there she goes finally. I mean, it took a while. It took a minute for us to do that. We did get stopped out. We talked about that, but I mean, we got back in and we said that we thought we liked this name, and there goes Tesla booming back up to the upside. We nailed it there. We got to take another piece out just because of the move that it's having. It just bounced off of one. There we go. Just bounced off of this level, so we'll take another piece at 130, 179.30. Right now, $1.80 in the money is Tesla.
Yeah, this is what it's all about. Like, stay specific. I'm not really jumping into any new names at this point because I don't think it makes any sense to do so. I got eyeballs still on DJT if it breaks 50. I did get out of NVIDIA when it put in that higher low and trailed out of that range. It's broken VWAP a couple times, like back, up, and down underneath. If we get into something new, I just don't want to be fighting any stocks. You know, like that's, I feel like when you're fighting stocks at this time of the day, like it's 10 o'clock, you want to be reassessing ideas after you get that opening range, which we have. So I'm pretty clear about Micron. It just turned red. If we get a pop, I short it. When I look over at AMD, you know, like, okay, so Micron's underneath VWAP. AMD probably gives you that level. It's a mixed bag for me. Like, I'm up on AMD because we were able to get most of it out off of VWAP. But at the end of the day, I could still be in this trade. So I do want to respect the fact that we are headed back into the downside and see if we can't work into it. But I think it's a little bit stronger than some of the other names in the chip space with an upward trend. So you got to get the best price if you can. Let's go over to Adara at the desk.
S&P 500 right now to the downside along with the NASDAQ. Quite the morning we've had so far today. Lots of earnings reactions we'll talk about in a second here. And we also did have that PCE data. The Fed's preferred inflation gauge coming in pretty much in line with expectations for the most part, though slightly higher than expected on a year-over-year basis. So lots to look at as for sure in this market on a holiday shortened week heading into the end of the week here, guys. We do have DELL to take a look at. This one down about 18%. They did beat on earnings, but they projected a decline in gross margin, so DELL to the downside. Gap at earnings play initially really strong here, still about 20%, but falling off a little bit. They beat across the board, so great look for GPS. And last but not least, we do have DJT, Trump Media and Technology Group. This one getting a lot of attention after Donald Trump was found guilty of all counts yesterday on falsifying business records. So interesting look for DJT and a lot of these names on watch, guys.
Those, and one of those that you said there, Adara, we took one shot at DELL, tight stop, because that's usually how I'm going to do it, like preserve capital, that kind of good stuff. When it's going to the downside, I don't want to be like guessing at the bottom. If I like a level, we try the level. I like 26, it broke 26. It then made the bottom at 25. A little different story here. Huge ramp back up and now consolidating higher. So now you have something to work off of. 26.85 is this local bottom. I think looking for a breakout from here seems pretty decent. So we're going to get over to Gap here. We're starting to head back. So NVIDIA's heading back down. And remember I said AMD was kind of trending back to the upside. So higher lows and all that good stuff. It breaks VWAP and joins, great. Otherwise, wait for the actual top, which is like 168.50. And then Micron was the other one we want to the south side. That just continues to fall. We might not get a VWAP retracement on Micron as it just continues to hunt lower and lower and lower. So it looks like it's going to be pretty nasty there. For some of these chip names, especially if AMD gives up VWAP. It's the only one trading above VWAP right now.
Yeah, Tesla.
Marvell's now down 10% on after their earnings. Like the chips are getting smoked.
It's funny that we talked about Costco hot dogs. And then we just put $2 in the pocket right there on Tesla. So we found Tesla, and again, thanks to everybody in the chat there, and just mentioning that, wow, Tesla's really starting to go. Oh my! I better make sure that I do not have that top break here for Tesla, because I do not want that. We're already, so right now we are cruising here, man, with Tesla. We just had a little bit of a dip down in Apple there, and I actually went to reload my coffee, so we are reloaded right now, and I saw Dimitri. What's up, Dimitri? Everybody that knows Dimitri from the development, trading floor development team. Shout out to that guy. Great guy. I saw Brankles back there. But okay, 191 coming back in here for Apple. We still want to look at that level. Wow, man. AMD still 70. I mean, look at these trades we have on board here today. Tesla's been a monster. AMD has been the best for me, actually. I'm up more on AMD than I am on Tesla right now. The one that's bothering me, of course, is the only losing trade that we've had, and we'll go 2 for 3 today, and that's going to be Apple. But again, this name just hasn't gone. We ignored that 200 period because I just wasn't here. I'm at 191.11 to the downside, but this is going to be a difficult trade. Like, if it breaks this 190, 191 maybe even, possible issue there. The thing is we had already written down on here, by the way, there goes Tesla again. We had already written down on here 191, so we're going to try to support that. We like that Palantir at 2160. This might be the dog for me. I'm going to cancel Palantir. I'm going to wait for 50s. So if we do get a move down, we'll watch it. It's not really moving the way I thought it would have. So for me right now, it's all about Tesla and AMD. We only have right now 10% left of it. So
NVIDIA's catching a bid.
yeah, like when this was down here, this is the trade for me. We talk about it, right? I mean, this is why these lines are here. So back in, out VWAP, out VWAP, out VWAP. Should have got out there at 167, didn't. So sometimes you got to hold something for something. And then right here, let's go Apple. Good little reload back to VWAP. Hey, like I just said, let's be responsible. Let's take out some 90s now, right? So there it is again. We'll face slap that one back upside. And here we go. All right, we're getting ready for a big day here, hopefully. We just need the market to rally, cancel offers, and start to rip up. So let's go.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking. I love the fact that it's right back at this low and actually giving you some bids. I'm only one stock bidding right now. It's just GPS. So GPS in the midst of a potential break back out. It was up almost 25%, now 21, but it's the higher low potential break that I'm looking for. The other name, I said all the chips are weak. I was wrong about that. ARM is very strong. ARM's up 1%. It's kind of bull flagging. Underneath 120.80 and VWAP is kind of where I was thinking the short would be. I had this range set off. So unless this breaks underneath 121, I think this should be a long today on ARM, but I want to see the market bounce. Like I said, I was getting into gap. That's the only thing that we're bidding at the current moment. NVIDIA does make a bounce off the lows, now putting in a lower high. I thought this would get me into Micron. It has not. Micron's still heading for the lows. Sometimes when you're shorting the pop, the short is at the available level. It closed at 126.30. It just bounced into 126 and rejected. So the previous close looks like a resistance level, at least for now. I'm going to adjust to that and work off of this. It's a relatively weak name. We said you have to separate these sometimes. Some strength in some chip names and a lot of weakness in others. Clearly weakness in Micron.
Okay, it's only 10:06 right now. Oh, man. All
right, DJT is about to break.
Yeah. This has been a good day to hold stuff. I mean, these are the days when confidence helps. And some days, it goes against you a little bit. The funny point about it is the two names that we've been the most confident about, Tesla and Apple, are both longs while the market's at it stays low. So this gives me even more confidence that if the market does battle back, where will these names go? We still have more than half of our position on Apple waiting for this thing to go, but we did say that we would take some out at 192 if it came back. So again, we haven't been like lighting the lamp on this or anything like that. But so far so good. We are net positive on Apple. We are hecka net positive on AMD. And I mean, come on. This is now 2 and change in the money as Tesla goes right back up to day's high. So we don't need to do too much about that. All right, nice move up for Apple. Let's not ignore this. Again, man, stacked offers at 35. That's not going to last. They're going to blast through that. See ya. We just got an offer out on this name, so we took another out here as Apple goes right back to day high. Have that confidence, and you can get another one, and then hopefully after that, another one after that, and then maybe even one more. So there it goes. AMD starting to get upside there. We do have our stop at 168.60. So let's go. Stop me out. Thank you fine, see ya. That's perfectly fine by me. We had 10% left. We talked about that. The reason why we cool with that is because just like Cool and the gang, we're here and we are getting ready to get higher to the upside at 192.39. We'll take an offer right there. $3 almost for Tesla, 50 cents for Apple, and at the day's high for myself on the net. So far so good right there. This is what real trading is about. Stick with your guns. Find a couple names as we mentioned there. We'll go 3 for 3 here today, and it's a Friday, so we're pretty happy about that one.
Exactly. It's been a great morning. I can't say otherwise. For me, it's not a 3 for 3, but I only need to be 2 for 5 to be up because it's all about risk to reward. But I'm only in gap, and ARM is absolutely flying. I heard something in my ear about ARM, but I think it was just that it was breaking the high of the day. So I don't think there's any actual news here with ARM, but it is clearly doing something that the others are not. If this can get through, I mean, look at the daily chart. If this gets through 126, I think it goes squeezing again. That said, I'm not really done with the fact that the chips are rolling back under. Here's NVIDIA right back into VWAP and trying to put in some resistance. If it breaks one step higher, I still like 1125. It's the only place that we shorted this name, and we do like it. The stop is in now to break long on DJT. As you can see, higher lows into a flat top. 50 breaks, I'm going long. We waited for this to settle down to set up some kind of a long play on the chance that it can squeeze. So we've been looking for that all morning long, and it looks like it is potentially here. I'm not taking it unless it breaks. If it just sits here and does nothing, then I do nothing all day on that one. So a bit of a breakout happening on gap. I do like the trend that it put back in. If it breaks underneath 27, I get out. If it breaks toward 28, I scalp into the high of the day. Big time mover on this one. And apparently Intel's moving, but my eyeballs are going to be on NVIDIA. Apparently ARM now. We'll keep ear to the ground in case there's any news on this, but it's absolutely flying. When ARM does this, you don't want to short it, generally speaking, unless it does something parabolic into like 11 o'clock.
AMD, NVIDIA, it's 10-10 right now.
AMD's going too, but why AMD?
Yeah, let me just review my notes here. Middle East issues with shipments, resistance level 168. Okay, so we have AMD here. We've already traded it off 168 and made money. Like I said, it's going to be a decent stock for me today. We got stopped out of our last 10% when it broke 168.50. So this is the kind of stuff that I'm trying to do. Find a level that I like, see if there's a top somewhere and associated with it, then fade that or go long against that number, and then get stopped out when it breaks and when we're wrong. But look at this. This is a 168.30, all right? So we get stopped out there at 55s, it looks like, something like that, 57s. So that's a 30-cent hit, right, out of our last 10%. This is 10% also. This is $1. Right, and so like this trade, basically this one would cancel out, sorry, no, nothing cancels anything out. This is a 20-cent hit, so like it cancels out one of them in here, you know, and then all of a sudden we have 8 more, not 7, like we have 6 fills in here, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's how I trade. And again, you guys are going to be like, man, how many fees are we paying so far today? $9. We have 73 fills. Apple, AMD, Tesla, 73 fills. Everything I'm doing, you're seeing right now. I just saw someone say GME. What's up to DJK here? GME bottom. So I wrote down 21 as a possible bottom there for GameStop. I don't want to look at the daily chart. We'll look at the 20-minute. So 21, again, just because it's that whole get that garbage out of here theory again. If we can come into 20, great. But I feel like 21 coming in right there hot is probably a better level. Just because you could get the shares. And then look, if you get stopped out losing $1, that's fine. That's the whole trade. Like you're not going long 21, scalping some out at 21.30 or something. Maybe you'd scalp some out. But the idea is that you try to make at least $1 on that back to these highs. So I like that trade. We'll see if it can come in here. 21 right now. Tesla, good out, obviously, at 180. But again, you know, needs to get back going. Possible reload zone now at VWAP.
Yeah, and just as that was happening, I'm out in and out of gap. It did the pop breakout right into the opening range bottom here. So it was 21.35. It busted into the 60s. Instantly, there was a big seller that started walking this one down. So I scalped a couple pieces out, was holding the rest for the pre-market high, wanted to see if it could go. Once it hits one level up, stop goes in at the current. We were giving it to here, then we move that up once it goes. So if we can continue to stair step, I'll look for another re-entry into GPS. We're 1 for 2 on gaps, basically flat on it. We took the hit, then we waited for an entry. It was strong. We started buying it on the strength into the upside. So just going station to station, finding the next level, and we'll see where these ones can go. Marvell, look, these names are all over the place, these chip names. Marvell has tagged, I feel like it did get SSR. I'll double check. It's really, really close. I think it got down 10% exactly and then made a bit of a bounce. But it's at the lows, clearly absurdly weak, as we just saw the first turn on ARM actually just pull back in. So we could be seeing a little bit of sell side action. For those that were yelling at me, you should be shorting Intel, you weren't necessarily wrong. On the chart, probably the easiest setup at the top. Yesterday's high, wick high, 3 cents, and then back underneath. If it's going to be a short to lower high, I think that comes into play. But I'm going to be liking to jump back into Micron. Maybe we're going to take a little something in DELL. I'm still being very patient with. Remember what I said about DELL? If I'm blanking an SSR play, it's going to be at the even dollar. 140, there was no bounce off the 140 level at the open to be played. It's at 136, 135 was the next level down. So I want to see it get down to 135, either bounces exactly off that level or wicks the bottom, breaks it by a little bit, and then tries to hold back above, and I get a higher low or buying it on strength. So that's the only way I'm playing this stock. I'm not trying to really catch a falling knife. I'm trying to see that bounce and then try to grab that move to the upside. If I miss it, I miss it. More than willing to do it. I'm trying to be very patient today, and that's working so far.
All right, we just got reloaded there on Tesla as well as, yeah, it just came in. And yeah, like I even hashtagged today the word patient because I felt like that was something that we definitely wanted to make sure that we focused on. I mean, there's a perfect example of AMD, right? We get out and then it comes right back in. But to have gotten out at 168.50 and leave ourselves $1, you know, that's pretty important to do that right there. We could have reshorted it, but we didn't necessarily believe in it. I was just saying here, I must have changed because what's up to Eduardo here? Hey, Sean, you're my favorite trader to follow. Very collected and professional. So I will say props to you right there. And I feel like we are getting better, better and better as we go because we're trying to stay that, you know, easy keel, even trading, show you guys the trades that we're in, talk about them, make sense of them all, and then hopefully be able to, and I feel like we've been doing this part, put up those numbers. So right there, we'll still sit in all of these plays. We just reloaded it there in Tesla. Thank you, Eduardo, for those very, 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 very kind words. We're going to get out some more Apple here. Look at the market. It's amazing that we've been able to find these longs today and make as much, do as well, not make as much. I mean, we didn't make that much. We'd like it to go a lot higher than where we are. And then also pick a good short today as well that, again, made money on, but would still like to have made more. It's just been a little bit of a difficult day. There goes Tesla. I mean, there it is again. Up to 50s and out some. So reloaded a little bit there at 20, out a little bit there at 50. We might have even got higher than 50. We got 55. So we got for some reason I had a 45 and a 55. So perfect. We got a 50 out right there. So we're long at 178.09. Now we're long at that reload level at 178.20. So that's our new reload level. That's our new position. It's Tesla. It's only in the money 20 cents as we go. I really like Apple, and I want to hold on to all of these. Looks like GME is bouncing, so shout out to you, Ritz, and everybody else. I mean, I was still waiting for that 21, so if it could do something for me, that would be pretty good. So we'll wait to see if 21 comes through there on GameStop. And let's just say, moon Tesla. Let's see if we can get back up there. We will put an offer at 179 where the 200 period is. And yeah, let's just sit back and enjoy some coffee on this Friday.
So there's a question in the chat that I'm going to address. Somebody just asked me to make sense of LPA for them. I can't. It's that simple. I will not make sense of a stock that makes no sense. So that's the first thing. It's literally done 20,000 shares of volume. That's not tradable. As a matter of fact, it is blocked in the system at Real Trading, and that is risk management on the part of Real Trading because the amounts that can get lost on this stock are insane. It's currently halted, and it's at $577 with some of these prints in here, so not even on the page. But look at, do you see anything on, all you see is little dots on the chart. It's not tradable. There's no liquidity
Look at
whatsoever.
AMD.
It's just
Holy
doing absolute
shit.
utter nonsense. Summit's now coming into play. I had one idea for Summit, and that was the original halt price 696 to look for a bounce off that. This was the phase 3 move. Their product better than Keytruda, I think it was. Better results in Keytruda. So Merck went down, this went up. 696 was that level. If it dips into this $7 level, I want to look for a bounce there, stop under 695, and then just try to let it run. And then finally, it's starting to come back in. I never wanted to buy tops on Summit, and I think we're going to get this shot at the $7 level.
All right, shout out to Magic Mike here in the chat. Tesla might touch 167 today. I am feeling worried for your short. Well, if I was short, that would be great, but I knew he probably meant long right there. Is it hot dog cannon time for AMD? Yes, it is there, Big Kyle Burdett, because I shouldn't take that. That's Sharif's line. But right there, AMD, hell yeah. I mean, we love the short there on AMD. We talked about it. It is your trade idea #1. So for you, Kyle, we're up on it. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that like I'm upset about getting out of the last 10% there. I'm more happy for the collective. I mean, I want all you guys to be able to make money if you're short. So that's a good job there, Kyle. I still want the longs to make money, and I think the longs will make money. I think this 166 has a great chance of holding right there as well. And I just want to say, like, no matter the positions that I take, you take, we all take, this market doesn't give two.
It doesn't care
about any position that any of us have. You know, like if you're shorting Tesla today, if you're longing Tesla today, like I am, you're cooking. I mean, either way, the short here, like if you're looking short 180, you're up huge. If you're looking long I was looking long 178, which is why I'm not huge, because we do have a stop out there. But if you're looking 177, 177.50, that's been a great area, and that's been a great area. So despite the market doing this, Tesla just still remains basically a flat stock here. I know it's down on the day, but just barely, but just sitting here trying to figure itself out. Now, on that note, whoever mentioned that, I forget who it was in the chat about me potentially being hit here. We're getting out if we break one. I mean, my stop is already in. Same stop as before, 177.50. So right here where we got stopped out before, that's my next stop out again. But now that I see this, we can maybe change it to 25s. So we've taken enough profit. There we go. Look at that. We just get another out right there. Like, come on, Tesla. Are you kidding me right now? Let's go, baby. John Travolta's like, who exactly is this guy right here? But there it is. Another one for us. Another 50 cents there on Tesla. As I talk doomsday, Tesla goes, no, thank you. Here's a little bit more cashish there. So nice move to the upside for Tesla. Now we just need Apple to go.
Yes, sir. I don't know if we got the call, but it's 10:20. I just got DJT. Summit just bounced off a 7, so 50 broke on DJT, but the buyers aren't above that level, meaning there's still a bit of a spread. So I'm going to have a tight stop because nobody bid above 50. It was just people punching in. We're going to go to the small cap recap, and I might be into Summit when we get back from it. Let's go, Adara.
We'll come back. All right, so Adara was muted there. We will just get that all fixed out and regroup and come back. So thank you, Adara, for that quick little update. But as soon as she's ready, just say it in our ear and we'll get going again at any point here. So, all right, we are now locked and loaded. We're trying to buy some more Apple. We're watching out for Tesla. And right now, you're going to be watching Adara.
Sorry about that, guys. We do have the IWM here bouncing off that interesting area around that 204.50. Also a bit of an area of pre-market resistance, so this could get interesting for the Russell 2000. In terms of names making moves today, we do have Novo Integrated Sciences, this one up over 100%, announcing that the company's approved a $5 million stock repurchase. We also do have Penn Entertainment, this one a bit larger, around $2 billion market cap, but they are about 10+% here, short float of about 19.7%. And this activist shareholder here, Donald Group, sending a letter to the company's board saying that they could get up to double their current trading price in an event of a sale. So PENN to the upside. Last but not least, we have Brand Engagement Network here, BNAI. This one seeing some continued strength after initial trading higher on Wednesday, announcing a $4.9 million private placement and appointing Paul Chang as co-CEO. So nice continuation play, BNAI.
All right, so Adara was muted there. We will just get that all fixed out and regroup and come back. So thank you, Adara, for that quick little update. But as soon as she's ready, just say it in our ear and we'll get going again at any point here. So, all right, we are now locked and loaded. We're trying to buy some more Apple. We're watching out for Tesla. And right now, you're going to be watching Adara.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you very much there, Dara. There's a heck of a lot to look at in small cap land, and we're not always going to be able to get into everything. That is what it is. So I did say there was a chance I could get into Summit. I did not. There's ARM. It broke down underneath my resistance level, so I'm looking to replay this. Apparently, just a heads up, Biden is supposed to make some,
you were mentioning
he's supposed to make some comments regarding the Middle East. So just understand that could be twofold. He could be talking about the conflict. He could also be talking about some of what was going on with the chips. If he mentions the chips, just alert to obviously NVIDIA and AMD. So there's Summit. It didn't quite get to $7. There's the wick bottom. I didn't chase it, so much to my chagrin, it's starting to go without me. If it can consolidate over 7, we'll see if we can find an entry, but I'm not chasing that one to the upside. It's already starting to go. You're now 165 AMD, 11, sorry, check that.
Check it.
1095 on NVIDIA. Like, this is why I was just trying to grab ARM.
1095?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, that AMD.
So I was just trying to grab ARM down here through 21. I said, I'm not going short this name until it breaks back underneath 21. Yeah, it broke that 21 level and was at 20 right quick. If it can calm down, I'm looking to short it inside this range. And then if we get to the lows, that is 118. So everything got nasty pretty darn quick. I still want to be in Summit, but I don't feel like chasing that move. It did bounce off the pre-market lows and not the level I was looking. I was looking at this level back here, $7 where it halted previously. So, no entry for me yet. And DELL, same thing.
Yeah, I mean, we are about to really. I mean, we called that. I mean, what did we even do in this morning? So, by the way, you got some more Tesla there against that bottom. It looks like we're going to break a lot here. I mean, the market is not healthy today, man. Down 1%. We said that we potentially were not going to get a free fall Friday unless NVIDIA lost itself, and it's just like M&M. It has lost itself right now. So it's going to the downside here, as is Tesla. And we talked about this, and it's just, again, we try to trade the futures a little bit, but it's more like once the market opens, I like to look at it. But we talked about 16.7, and I said, like, we're probably going to run to that and then do this. We got to 18.7. We got to 18.670. We got 30 handles away. Even when we were 30 handles away, we were like, okay, this is looking pretty juicy down here. And then, or up there, and now it has faded itself back in. So I just got to take a deep breath here because we do have a bunch of shares now on all of this. So what just happened to AMD? Oh, that was my stop. Are you kidding me, AMD? That's as if that just filled now. I'm going to punch out of this. We do not mean to be short down at this level, but that's for when we were trying to go long at 165 if we did have that bid down there, and then our stop was going to be where it was. But for right now, it's Tesla. It's trying to get back up to the upside. We're long here at 70. I'm going to take some out. What the hell? Oh, I see what the hell's going on. Oh my God, I'm trading on the wrong screen right now. I was trying to get out of Tesla, looking at it Moon here, and was like, I'm gonna get out, but instead I'm punching short AMD. Okay, so that's what it was. All right, so now we're starting to get out again on Tesla. Nice upside move. We just put on some more shares there at 177.50. We do wind up getting out where we wanted to. We wanted to get out a little bit higher than that, but let's take some more shares here as Tesla's given us the trade, but we got to take the profit if we want it. So we want it with this market falling back down. Take some more out here at 90. We're long Tesla 177.60, trying to get more here upside on Tesla. So let's go. Let's let this one settle down a little bit. If the market bounces from here, we know we have Tesla, but this AMD is really making me throw up a little bit here because that was a great call. It was our #1 stock on the day. It's now 350 in the money off of this level, but it's all about timing. And you don't have it, you don't have it. And there goes AMD, a positive name, very positive name, but not positive enough. Apple trying to get back up to the upside.
I just heard possibly Trump comments at 11.
Yeah.
11 o'clock. So in 30 minutes, you're going to have Trump speaking. Don't know. I mean, obviously, I have an idea what might get said. Appeal, obviously, that's going to be the case. I have my first DELL trade of the day. So it didn't bounce exactly off 135, but for a stock that's down 20%, you can't really quabble about it. It bounced 135.30, so there's the rounded bottom, and there's it breaking out of that bottom. The first out will be here in front of 137, and then if it gets to VWAP, I'm not even thinking that optimistically. This bottom here was 138, so 137 and 138 we'll look to get out. As I said, Summit was something that we wanted to grab long, but we are not in it. It's making another push into the low. 696 is that key price that I'm a fan of. So if it can bounce maybe one lower low, I should say, and bounce off 7, then I try to get in. If it puts in a higher low after that wick candle, I'm willing to take an entry with the local bottom, somewhere around 7.75. If it puts a higher low in here, I might just put a long in front of $7.75. So I do want to be in Summit. It's legitimate news why the stock is going up in the first place, but I want to be very particular about entries. So we just got DELL for the first time. It's an SSR bounce. It's a scalp play as far as I'm concerned. It could trend all day long, but it just made a bottom off that 135 that we waited for. Let's see what happens in this market, because it's actually still heading lower. Yikes.
Yeah, yikes is right.
Yeah.
I'm still excited for it. Okay, AI continues to climb. Okay, what's up,
C3
Kitronics? What is your reason for ignoring it? Well, I've traded 3 names, so I don't know what else to tell you right now, and we're pretty happy with the 3 names that we've had. Again, we'll be positive. All right, yeah. Excuse me, good level. We talked about that yesterday. I sort of broke this down for anybody that was trading this yesterday, that we could see some traps for sure. I already think we do have people trapped over 27. That was a level that we talked about. But I said the ultimate position right here is 32. Like a break back above 32, and then you're singing, man. And I think that's going to get things going again there on that. So C3 AI above 32, a great little level there to look at as we continue to go. And I'm not... Kitronics, you are right. I mean, there it goes, breaking through 29. Huge move there. This is a 20-minute chart, so if we're going to look at it from today, you know, obviously you're going to play that dump, but we're still really where we are at the open. I mean, 28.80 to 29.20, it's kind of still in the pocket. So if you like the long, I mean, I'd stamp it. I think it's not a bad idea to exactly do that. But yeah, that's what that is right there. A quick check on the banks. We had Raider Trader on yesterday. We talked a little bit about the banks. Definitely favoring the regionals for the shorts, but JP Morgan today, downside, not much, but what is the ES is not down 1, right? No, so it's down 0.3. So this is down with the market. JP Morgan, I really like the stock, but 196 to me is a better level to look at if we can get down into there. And then I think we'll put it on our sticky note for some buys, but it's need to get into that level right now. All right, here goes Tesla. We have crypto in a minute, but Tesla's going to break. There it goes. So it breaks 177. So again, at the end of it, we slapped a fail on it here, and we slapped a fail on it there again as it starts to break lower. So down goes Tesla with the market. Fading over and switching to the short definitely seems to be what's going to be the right thing here. Although Apple, we're still holding up okay on. AMD and NVDA downside. We called that 20% move in NVIDIA. It's probably upon us over the next 2 weeks is what I was looking at. So I still think by the time mid-June comes around, you may bottom.
Remember the splits on the 10th, so I think that's like a potential catalyst for it.
Potential, but I think that's the problem, you know.
Well,
look at this shiny
sell
thing.
event, I think. I thought the split would be the reason why it would dip, but then obviously we had the news yesterday, which changed everything. I don't necessarily want to go away from it. Before we go to the crypto, I just want to mention we got greedy. I did something you should never do, which is I saw DELL, it got right to that level. I canceled my order and was like, I'm gonna get better than that. So I moved my order from in front of 137 to above 137 to take more, and then it just broke back down. But we're still gonna get out. I'm getting out before it breaks that low of the day as it continues lower. But that was a mistake. I could have scalped like 80 cents on that one and then worked past the dollar, but I did not do so. That's a fail. Let's go to the desk, see what's going on in the land of crypto.
Interesting note here. We have the block reporting that the SEC has told Ethereum ETF issuers to get their first round of S1 draft S1 forms in by Friday, citing some sources here. We already have VanEck and BlackRock filing their S1s. This could be interesting. Once S1s are filed, they still need to be processed before ETFs can begin to trade. But this report from the block suggesting that we have some continued interest here and potential moves towards this start of Ethereum ETF trading. So nice look there. In terms of Bitcoin, continuing to have this chop and turn range bound action that we've seen over the last week or so. Right now, over the last few days, we've been continuing to chop between that 69 and 67,000 level. Right now, just below 68. Ethereum basically flat here on the day, continuing to inch back towards that 3,800 level, but great look for ETH, not really giving up many of the losses or many of the gains that we've had here, so nice look. Whereas these crypto names a little bit more mixed. We have Solana down about 1.5%, Shiba Inu down about 4%, but Cardano up just slightly, up about 1/5% here as we head into the rest of the day with these crypto names, guys.
Crypto hot right now. I mean, I'm surprised Ethereum doesn't bump up more than that. I actually didn't pay for shorts. Maybe I should go over there and do that right there. But I mean, I just said to Neil, like, what's up with Apple? Market tanking. Man, I'm so glad that we've been buying some Apple recently. I mean, that's been a good call for the long, man. And Apple holding my head above water here today, that's for sure. Apple. Thank you to Kyle there in the chat, guys. Go grab him. I mean, he just gave 10 memberships. So thank you so much to Kyle right there. Oh, I can't like this, but Kyle, again, you know, you always want the hot dog candy. You don't have to ask for it. There it is. Thank you so much, Kyle. I know you've been looking short, and that's probably something to do with these gifts. So there it is. Thank you so much, Kyle, for that big one there. And we have a big member here, Z2Bup. We actually had another member that was 21 months. If you had that Bears versus Bulls, let me know who that was. We forgot to mention that. So nice little job there. And I don't know. Apple has caught in something. So either there's news about something somewhere, but Apple right now is catching the bid while the market is catching a kicking. So watch out for this as we start to break lower, lower, lower here.
Yeah, and we got saved by risk management on DELL. I think adhere to your stop, not to round numbers. We didn't go short. We went long the higher low on the break with a local stop instead of 135 even, and all that would have done is lose an extra 75 cents. So that's, you know, play your trade. Don't necessarily get mirrored to even numbers. Again, I made a mistake by not scalping out. That was a mistake. I could have taken 70, 80 cents, and then it actually wouldn't have been a bad trade. That's it. We are headed down. I just noticed something which doesn't make too much sense to me, but it doesn't have to make sense. The market just broke lows. AMD's at 164, NVIDIA's at 1085, and Intel just made a bottom, and it was trying to go green a second ago, and it's at VWAP. So clearly there's something about this which is defensive and not necessarily weak. It's in front of $30. Yesterday's bottoms as well. If we make a bounce in the market, I'm going to look for the 30 long on Intel. That's weird to say on a day like today, but it is what it is. Summit does not want $7, so I can stare at it all I want. It looks like it's going to go with the higher low strategy. We're putting that higher low. I said if it did this, I'd put a 775 stop and try and take it back through the upside. So if it gets to $7 or 695 was that, or 696 was that whole price yesterday, that'll be a separate trade. But I'm going to try and get in here in front of 8. As I said, give it to this local bottom, just a little bit under, 775. I do want to take a couple of swings at this. It was a huge move in both this and Merck on the daily chart, well above its 550 breakout price. And if it's going to hold on to that 7 level, first step could have been this little wick bottom and then the higher low. If it gets to VWAP, I mean, VWAP's all the way at like 875, right? So risk to reward, if you risk 30 cents here, it gets to VWAP and then flies from there. I'll take a few swings at Summit. I'm going to try to be really particular about this because I don't have any of the shorts on right now. So I'm not going to be going crazy looking to force trades because most of what you're going to find is longs off the bottom
you're not
right
wrong
now.
about that. You're not wrong about that. And that's what I'm trying to do here with Tesla, and that's why I kid and cry at the same time. All right. So, I want to give a big thank you right now, and it's actually perfectly on topic right now. We have the Freedom and Wealth podcast. That, guess what? It's dropping Saturday at 10 a.m. So you guys can go find that. Is that what the kids say these days? It's dropping.
Yes.
And then right here from Mark Knight, member for 21 months. So we'll say thank you so much for that one. Happy first birthday to your twins.
Boom.
Shout out twins right there. Happy first birthday, Clara and Thomas. Also, you guys,
Means having a lot.
Also, thanks to Sean and Neil for helping me build a future for them. So, I mean, again, this is exactly what we're talking about here with this podcast. So come over, check it out, subscribe. It's going to be hitting on Saturday. I want everyone to go there immediately. Hit subscribe, get going on this. 500 subscribers already. We haven't dropped anything. So let's get this going. You'll get that note. And then I want you to tell us, how did you like it? You know, how do you like the new format? I want you to check out our new room. It's pretty awesome. They're actually working on it right now again. Lots of things to talk about. We got a great setup in there. I don't want to spoil it too much. You've seen a little bit of it, but it's getting better and better and better. So it's going to be a big, big pod. We're super happy for it. And it's dropping this Saturday at 10 o'clock. So stay tuned for that one. Get your cup of Joe. And get ready to rock and roll. So
tea,
it's whatever
or
you
whatever
want.
you do.
Yeah, you get water. You
got to mow your lawn if you want to listen to it more on the lawn. If you want to jump in the hammock, if it's good weather,
you could wear your banana hammock.
You could do that as well. And if you have,
whatever you want.
Sean just pushed it away, but you have a chance to be the 500 subscriber.
Yeah, it might already have 500.
It was 491, so if you do it now, you can be number 500. Mr. Westermeyer was 420, which was pretty cool.
Oh, it's 498.
498. So the next subscriber has a decent chance of getting it. So let's go. Shout out to that. Market making a bounce, but you're getting a bounce in NVIDIA and AMD, 163, and NVIDIA
163?
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. 1080 NVIDIA just bounced from. I'm not making it up, that's a real number. NVIDIA is having a bad day, but it's only down 1%. I got the first trade into Summit. I just scalped the first out at 1-to-1. The next out we're going to take is in front of VWAP, and from there, we're going to hold. So let's see what happens with Summit. It isn't necessarily the entry that I wanted because I was anticipating $7. It is what it is. We'll just have to take this trade. It was a higher low trade off of a wick bottom at the pre-market low instead of the halt price. So we'll work this one to VWAP and then just try to hold. If it goes into a halt, I'm holding through the halt. That's the plan of action in that. I just saw someone say short NVIDIA.
Short NVIDIA.
But then
probably a good idea.
I see what you're saying. No, I saw an Ike Anderson go short NVIDIA 1050 to 1,000. Though your target is 1050 to 1,000, clearly. But it's at the bottom. I didn't want to be short anything at the lows. I wanted a trade that's set up according to my plan. I got out of NVIDIA, and it was a huge mistake, obviously, doing so. I never found my way back into what I thought was going to be the chance to short the same level. AMD gave you the short many times at that same top, so did ARM. I kind of thought NVIDIA was going to do the same thing, and I was wrong about that. But you just got to move on to the next, and the next for me was going to be Summit. Do remember, everybody, 20 minutes.
Whoa, Tesla was
Donald Trump is going to be talking. So if you're still trading like DJT, something's probably going to happen in 20 minutes on that stock.
Yeah, Tesla was just rocking, and we got out a little bit there. I got to give a big shout out right now. Hey, what's up, Ponzi Fonzie? And a big shout out to Bears vs. Bulls. It's back working. Slots are back on right now. I just lost 100 points right there. So slots, shout out to Ponzi, shout out to everybody that has missed this, but specifically Bears vs. Bulls, because it is him who has gotten this back up. So right there, slots are spin. There it is. Now everyone's all over it. Oh, Rivian Millionaire takes down 1,000.
Good for you.
Right there. So nice move right there, back in there. Everyone, guys, I want everyone to put some ones up in the chat for our guy there, Bears vs. Bulls. So big shout out. Thank you so much for getting on that ASAP. So again, let him know in the chat how amazing he is. I mean, we would be absolutely nowhere without him and helping us out.
The best in the business.
Yeah, the best. Literally the best in the business.
He's the best.
Better than the rest.
Around, and nothing's ever going to keep him down. Nothing's going to keep us
never going to hold
Sector
him down.
Watch at the green screen in green is Adara.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, a lot of strength here on this sector board, but there are quite a few sectors with some obvious outstanding weakness. Electronic technology among them, AVGO, Broadcom reporting in a few weeks. Right now, this name and quite a few other names in the space to the downside. We have pretty much red across the board here for the technology sector group as well. Meta, Microsoft, and Google all to the downside. Amazon trading down here about 2.5%. There was that news with their Zeus car, those self-driving cars apparently. There's an investigation there into those crashes. So AMZN to the downside. Costco also to the downside. But some of the other names in this up. Producer manufacturing weak, but some strength in health technology, finance, energy, minerals, consumer services, health services, utilities, and consumer non-durables. So it's what we've got going on right now. I'll have to see if some of this strength remains for the rest of the day, guys.
All right, we have a new position while that was going down. We have Palantir. This has flown in 3 minutes ago, but we take that 2150. We did talk about that. So 2150 there for Palantir. A quick little out at the top at 56. Did we just get there? We took 6 pennies? Okay. All right, so we'll take that. Actually, 5 pennies, 57s. But now we'll have to wait to see what happens with Palantir. just taking a small piece out again, trying to like let these wins happen for us to the long side, because definitely the momentum is the other way. We've been taking some more out, and let's take some more out right now at 80s again here on Apple. Downside push could be imminent as the futures are just getting clocked now today, now down 1.25er. A little bit of a reload in Tesla as I continue to be pretty stubborn with this one. But it's been profitable for us up to this point, but not on this last little drop down in. So we've been trying to buy it and sell it up here. So it's been working out okay, but I'm trying to hold for the bigger move. I'm going to give it up at 176 because the next level is 174. So I'm not just going to keep on sitting here and doing this. We could get all the way down here. This could be a NASDAQ 2% day. We said if the emperor has no clothing, which he does, but if NVIDIA gives it up at some point and he starts to dance around with no pants, then we have a problem. So right now, NVIDIA down 1.4%, trying to get back upside. If it doesn't, man, this market has a little bit of a ways to go here. As their bubble, it's not that it's a bubble, it's just that Brendan mentioned it before, 20% of their business is with Microsoft. You know, so it's like if NVIDIA starts to show a little bit of weakness, people are going to extrapolate that down to many other levels.
It's actually bigger than that, because if you just take Microsoft, Google, just the big
well, yeah,
hyperscalers,
just that one as an example.
It's like 60% of just those. It's I missed one of them. Meta, Microsoft, Amazon, and Alphabet. It's just them. It's like 60% of their business.
Yeah.
It is going to trickle down. There's something that is strong, by the way, and it's been pointed out in the chat a couple times.
Tesla.
There's a brick wall on AI at 30. So C3AI just got to $30. It's not on the offer anymore because it just pulled back into $29.70. But trust me, bro, it was more shares than I've seen at any, 1,000 shares on this level 2 is a lot for C3AI. And there was multiple 10,000 to 20, 30,000 share orders sitting at the $30 level even. So let's line this. If the market does make a bit of a bounce play, a nice consolidation break on a relatively strong name could come into play. For whatever reason, after earnings, oh, that's right, it's ridiculously short flow.
Still working.
We said there could be some squeeze names here, and I guess that's what's happening on C3AI. Nothing but upside. The only thing I'm in right now, because I don't want to short any bottoms, I told myself I'm not trying to long any bottoms or short any bottoms, not at this time of day, is Summit on higher lows. I got one out. We're waiting for VWAP, and then we're just going to try to hold it. The only stock, okay, so I just said I wouldn't go long any bottoms. Intel, for whatever reason, is just not making this move down with everything else. It's holding the low of the day, and the longer it holds the $30 level, if NVIDIA, AMD, and the market do not break fresh lows, so there's NVIDIA, AMD's at the low of the day right now, the NASDAQ is at the low of the day right now. If they show any bounce, I think a scalp on Intel, if not just back to 30.20, is going to be in play for me, but it needs to break closer to this 30 level so I can get a look at it.
All right. Oh, we did get stopped out. Okay, we are now rocking with AMD like pretty hard right now. All right, I need to focus here because we just found AMD down here at 163, so we went long, and we are now Bank City right here. This is easy PL1 now, but this might not hold. So, all right, I'm just gonna, okay. All right, we're out of half. Yeah. All right, we're out of half right now. We're up 40 cents, 30 cents, and still going. If this breaks lower, we wanted to get out. I just put a stop at 75. So our stop is 25 cents lower. This could be that one that we're looking for right now immediately on AMD. I like this level. Where did we find it, you might ask? Right from here. I mean, it was this dip down just a couple days ago, 163. I mean, it's right here right now. If we lose it, we lose it, but we are out of half. And I'm actually going to get out of another piece now at 13 as we start to go now. So now that we're out of half, we don't discuss share sizes, but trust me when I tell you, we're trying to make money, and like we lost on that Tesla a couple times, but we kept on having enough shares that like if it was going, we would have been fine. So that's why we're starting to scalp it out. But at the same time, it's like at some point I'm going to have to try to hold something for a bigger move. So now let's do that here with AMD. We found that level. If it breaks too much lower now, it'll be a flat trade. So we didn't, well, we'll still be up on AMD. We talked about what we did earlier. But at the same time, this is the bigger one now for me. Maybe the market retraces back up. Maybe it doesn't. But this is a lottery ticket right now. And the short was just better there. If you just faded the short, now you're in the money even more than I was in the money when it went up. So we're almost out of this. But that's where my mentality is about this, is try to take something. There it is, we're out. So again, a completely flat trade again there on AMD. We actually made money. We got out a little bit higher than where we wind up dumping that in. So we still have 75% of it. Let's see if it works. But for right now, it's just dancing around these lows from, I guess, Monday, whatever this day was. What day is this? 28th? 31st, so Tuesday, I guess, or whatever day that was, went through Tuesday. So we're still bouncing in and around that level. If you want to give it a shot, you can give it a shot right now. I may take more shares because we actually wound up making money there. NVIDIA trying to catch a footing. So this could be worth it again here, guys.
Yeah, I saw like a higher low on
in.
NVIDIA just happened, so I said I'd take Intel if it was a bounce, just because it hasn't broken the lows of the day in this entire move. So the NASDAQ and NVIDIA, I showed you NVIDIA, but this is the NASDAQ. It's a 15-minute. It's done all red for the last hour. You haven't had a green candle. And in that time, while it was doing all of this, you really made a higher low and holding 30 even on Intel. So if it gets to the quarters, I'm definitely scalping out in front of those quarters. Still not much happening on Summit. It's gliding higher, nothing crazy. So putting a little bit of a, gotta zoom in so you can see it properly. Still consolidating higher, so I still like the move into VWAP. We're just gonna hang on to it. I have moved my stop. Actually, sorry, I have not moved my stop yet. It needs to break this local high. Then I would move the stop from here closer to break even, like something like an 810 right under this consolidation level. I'm still giving it more room because it hasn't made that big move just yet. DELL is still going downside. This is why. For that play, remember, anytime I say SSR bounce play, it's a gimmicky style trade. It's bouncing off of usually an even dollar level or a really significant level. Try to take it breaking back out or on a higher low after the bounce with a pretty tight stop, and then you're looking for a big move, tight stop. Once that doesn't happen, I'm not trying to go long the stock again. Maybe it's 130 bucks. You know, if it gets to 130, I might try the same thing again. 130 is a much more significant level on DELL. It's the 50-period moving average. So this would be, I think, a better spot for it to bounce. Also psychologically, 130, it's a Friday, options, all that good stuff. But I'm just sitting it out until that level. This market is trying to bottom, but it has yet to actually do so.
So we said we got back into AMD, so we did do that because it did break through 163, but then it kind of held it. So now we're long again at 163. We just took 40 more cents on it. I mean, it's my best stock today, and we had the short. Now we're hitting the long, so I feel bad about not holding this. So let's not feel bad about not holding it back up if it does get going again. So we still want to try to do that, but we did take out some more profit. I'm getting a little tired of like just going back and forth with these names. We should just be net short something and then really watching out for that. So we did have that comment. You just covered DELL. What about CRM on a day two play? And I know we missed. Okay, so it's
CRM's
right here.
actually good.
Yeah, it's right here at 215. So that would be a level that we had talked about in this range for a possible hold for CRM. So let me just see what that looks like just quickly. We do have money coming, says Ramin. Yeah, that 215. Yeah, so in a day where we're really cranking lower, I think you got to be careful with this CRM. But again, pretty good name. I mean, considering that you're still up against a market that's looking like this, pretty decent day there for CRM today, considering maybe it's getting closer and closer to time to buy this name possibly. Wait for 3 days like I'm gonna do on CRM, but it's definitely a name that I like. Apple is really working out, AMD's trying to work, and we'll talk about Palantir when we get back from the desk with Adara.
Pretty range-bound look here for the DXY, continuing to reject off that 101.10 or 105.10 area and bouncing off this 104.58 or the 104 area on a bit more of a wick basis. So interesting look here for the range-bound DXY. In terms of economic data to keep an eye on, we did get quite a bit, specifically in the PCE price index realm. This is actually the Fed's preferred inflation gauge, so certainly an important one. We did come in flat for PCE on a month-over-month basis, but core PCE coming in actually a little bit lower than expected, 0.2% for April on a month-over-month basis versus 0.3 expected and 0.3 previous. So a bit of a slightly smaller look than expected here for that core PCE for on the month-over-month basis. So nice look there. We also get Chicago PMI, much weaker than expected, actually the lowest print we've had since apparently 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic. So 35.4 versus 41.4 expected. Looking into next week for some economic data to keep an eye on. Next Friday, we'll be getting the NFP, or non-farm payrolls. Should be a pretty interesting number in a week full of a lot of labor data, especially with some Fed speakers saying in recent weeks that the labor market is one to watch out for. So let's see how these numbers stack up heading into the next week, guys.
Thank you very much, Sarah Dare. There was just a decent volume spike on SMMT. I'm going to explain what happened here. So it pulled back down right into the $8 level, and the second it saw 8 on the bid, or at least when I saw 8 on the bid, big buy bounce came right in, resisted exactly 850, so it went there for like a second or two, and then it bought back into 850. Immediately a wall stepped in front of 50, so I took some out there, just respecting the new range, and then if it broke out on volume, I'm moving my stop to break even, still looking for VWAP or higher. At the same time, so look, C3AI, it is what it is. All I did when it got up there was tell you that there was a monster level at 30. I didn't even have locates on the stock. So even if I wanted to, I couldn't have punched short. You could have reasonably had 95 short with 5 or 10 cents worth of risk, but I don't even know what the cost is for locates. It's now bouncing off of VWAP, so I want to look to get into this one. Let me just get on the bid, then talk, Neil, because I want to get this one in the teens if we can, and just give it into VWAP. There's not much that's been strong. This is a pure squeeze play. This was also yesterday's high. It's a 32% short float, I want to say, but there's been so many short float runners, I could be wrong. 32% short float, just checked it out at Trade Ideas.
Yep.
That's probably the reason why it's even up today. They reported. I'm not here to analyze the report. I think you leave that to analysts, but it's trend up. It just bounced off VWAP. I'm trying to get tens or teens, give it to probably like 29.80 or so underneath VWAP on C3I. Not much, not many charts look like this. Oddly enough, Ford is one of them. No, I'm not making up. Ford's actually, look, Ford's chart, okay, it's not up as much as C3AI, but Ford tried to break lower, and it's trend to the upside. I have no idea why Ford's up 1% into a weak market, especially after it just broke support, but yeah, apparently it is.
Yeah, that's Ford for you.
Who knew?
That's Ford for you. All right, so
Ooh, I like that.
we'll have to wait to see. I mean, I don't know anything about. I hate Ford, so. Although
you
I
don't.
Yes, I do. Actually, I do. It's because I should just sell it. That's why. Like, I don't know why I still hold it.
Oh, yeah,
Like
yeah.
I said, it's at the same levels for 25 years with basically no dividend. It's really shitty.
They pay like 3.5%, 4%.
Right. So you lose money.
No, I'm not. Look, I'm in Ford, and
Yeah.
I agonize over that stock too, and I actually recently took out. When it broke that support level, I took out half of my shares when I didn't take it out at 13 because I was holding for 15. So outside of maybe getting a dividend payment in there, I didn't make anything on the recent buy because it was at 11s. So, you know, like I bought it like 11.11, and I probably sold it at 11.70 something, and that was months that it did that. So I probably got a dividend payment, but I got nothing else as the market went higher. It's opportunity cost. You don't lose on the trade, but you lose on the opportunity cost, which matters.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and that's part of it, right? It's like, what else could you be into as that? So, okay. All right. So, just looking around here, so people want to know about Palantir. So we did put on another trade there for Palantir, of course, and we had talked about Palantir. We're waiting at 60, we're waiting at 70, and our out's going to be 40s. So the only thing is that because I was dealing with so many other positions, including Apple, which is falling back in a little bit here, and I don't really know why it's doing that, but there goes AMD. We are now 50 cents in the money on AMD, and really happy with that one. So let's let this one go. We said we want to see a bigger winner on this. This is PL1 for me, and it is a beauty here. Palantir, good trade. We'll wait to see if, I mean, now Tesla bounces, but I can't have it. I can't just keep taking it. Like, I didn't know that 175 was going to be the bottom, but I'm not sure that it is. AMD going now 70 cents in the money and trying to go. We're waiting at 164, trying to go. I mean, that's exactly what it is doing. And there goes Palantir. We're waiting at 60s. There it is right there on Palantir. So, yeah. Pretty good day if we take away some of those Tesla buys, but you can't do that, so we're waiting for that to go. And then we do have Donald J. Trump going to be speaking. As I mentioned this at 8:30 because I saw someone in the chat mention it, that they're speaking at 11 o'clock. So I just heard in my ear that it looks like
Biden
that is what's
speaking
happening.
too today?
Right. Oh, Biden's speaking. Well,
Biden's, I don't know what time exactly.
I feel like that's
but
irrelevant.
Biden's supposed to be speaking specifically about the Middle East, so that could end up being anything. But I don't know the exact time for that. You're watching chip names, you're watching oil when he speaks. You're watching DJT in 3 minutes. Speaking of which, okay, it's just a little bit of review. I'm actually out of C3AI, and I could be wrong about this, but there was a big seller at $30. I had just gotten into the long. You can probably guess what happened at $29.50. Like it got up to $29.50, and then someone flashed size. It wasn't as big as it was at 30, but it was enough to have me, like, I got out once and then just punched out of the rest. I'm like, hey, if it dips back into VWAP, I can get a better price off VWAP, and maybe we should let it break through that $29.50. The second I was out, the offer was gone. So it was possibly a spoofer, which just means somebody threw orders on the offer for a split second, enough to get a reaction, which it obviously did out of me, and then they pulled the order, which you're technically not allowed to do, but maybe they really wanted the shares, and I have no idea. But I am out of C3. I'll try to get it off VWAP again. So still just in Summit, as that's slowly grinding toward VWAP. It's down 23%, but just remember that's because of what happened. Yesterday, this was ridiculous, and then it kind of gapped down. So if you look at it from the open, it's kind of flat-ish. But we're looking for the push through VWAP on Summit. NVIDIA is trying to really rally in here, as that is one heck of a bounce on NVDA. It just bounced through 11.11. If it gets to VWAP, once you see the opening range bottom here at 11.08, I'm convinced this is recovering if it can beat that.
All right. Yeah, just from this side of things here, I mean, AMD is an absolute, for me today, a game saver. Because we don't have this, our Tesla trade would be an absolute nightmare for us, but it's not. It's just, our P&L would be horrible if we did not have a good little profit taker there in AMD. But that's when you only trade 4 or 5 names, you got to have at least one that is nice, right? So, okay, and now we're trying to watch out for Apple. So Apple, it just fell into 191. This is the level there that we talked about throughout the whole day. This is the #1 level that we had written on here, was 191 for a dip buy opportunity or a 193 break long. It looks like the 193 break long was the short opportunity of the day. And like I said, when you're going to look at this, and we've sort of talked about it, I'm going to get some more out at 34 here. I have to, because we have too many shares again. So a good little trail. I'm going to get another piece there at 34 if we can. But this is the whole, look, like we just got out at 34. Remember, like, this is why it's so important to be able to watch your trades as you go, man. Because if you sit there and do not, like, I just took 34s, that's saving 20 cents right there. The fact that we're able to get some out, it will allow me to reload and get a little bit more on that. Palantir's still there. AMD, we just took another piece. We just talked about that at 75. So we'll take that out. And now we'll just wait for something else to happen. Like, I know that, again, sounds pretty ridiculous, but that is what we have to do now. Wait to see if the market can bounce from here, or if we're just going to retrace back and take out lows. We had called this move, but we were waiting for 18.7. It got as high as 18.666 there, and then the drop happened. But you do get a base now down here at 18.350. So obviously that's the area. If you're going to load up, I feel like you might want to wait until that comes through because you just didn't even get close to the 50 period. We'd like to see it that hit, come back, then break. But until then, you're not getting anything. So we're going to have to wait to see what happens here with AMD.
Yeah, I just took a ARM short off of yesterday's low, and I know we have to go. It's 11 o'clock, but there was just news on Moderna here. Breaking through the high of the day. This one's getting a little bit of a bid, so big volume spike on Moderna. You got to find the strength where it lies, right? So Moderna's strong. I showed you C3AI was moving to the upside, forward for reasons unknown. But it's all about relative strength and weakness if you can find it. It's also about learn to trade, which you're headed to right about now. We're going to be back at 2 o'clock as always to round out this week. It's going to be a fun one as the market tries to catch a bid. But let's get to Sharif and Adara. Go get them.
You don't even have your mic on.
What happened to Moderna there? Did you?
Hi, I'm Adara, and there is a Sharif. He is next to me. He tried to photo bomb my Instagram shot this morning. But yeah, we're having a great day. Hope you guys are having as good of a day as we are here in these markets.